There is a small party going on in the Mondani house. And there's the sounds of children at play. This is the largest state in the Vidachi mainland that um, a young Rosa Nix grew up in. Um, and her mother yells at her from across the party, from like where she's out in the gardens and, like trying to take her younger sister into the maze there. Um, and Angeline, come back here. Your sister has to eat. Um, and she, points to the spot immediately in front of her. There is she looks in many ways, at least at this time, like a much younger version of Angeline Mondavi, the young girl who come to be known as Rosa Nix. Um, and her feet have not been allowed to touch the grass in the last few minutes. Um, and her Rosa's mother like beckons her closer and just kind of puts her hands on her hips. I said, put her down.
But, sister.
Says she needs to eat, and then we have to put her inside for a nap.
And she'll give her back just unhappily.
And she kind of lifts her up and puts her over her shoulder, and then we're kind of like smash cutting to the night where flames are flickering across the roof of the house, and outside, the Inquisition is burning the place down. Um, and instead of seeing where Angeline is running out of the back gardens, into the arms of somebody who will carry her to safety, we see the young mother who is carrying her youngest child against her breast, who has blood pouring down her side from the pistol wound from one of the Inquisition members that tried to take her life. She is not seen by those trying to escort Angeline to safety. Instead, she escapes into the night, her blood pouring down her side. She manages, despite the image of Vodachi women as useful only for rearing children, um, she manages to staunch her wounds, to get to safety, to find passage outside of um, Vodachi. She crosses down the river that cuts between Vidachi and Eisen, and she sails into Montane lands, and all the while manages to keep a very young, very small, very vulnerable child who still bears some of the scars of fire, at least in her mind, if not in her body, as Rosa did. Um, the child grows up inside of Montaigne. Um, Her mother only makes it another year, but before then, she's still carrying the burns and the marks of the wounds that she took protecting her child, getting her to safety. Inside of that year, she is taken to the court of the Size to Size family and one Jemay, not yet a countess, or sorry, not yet a duchess, still the de facto head of her family, um, takes her in over the next few years. She's given a Montaigne name. She's raised uh, as a Montaigne, and she begins to see things that no Montaigne should see. Um, it's a few years later that she has her first visions. Um, the interconnection of strands between individuals, that for just a moment her eyes go stark black and she can see authority, hatred, passion. Um, and that child, how does she react to her first visions? I think 7 or 8. It's you've never known your Aunt Jemay to lay a hand on anyone in her family. And the first time she hears it from you, she grabs your wrist hard enough that it hurts. And she tells you, like, you cannot tell anyone about this ever. Um, and kind of, you know, Honorine might be too young to know it, but she doesn't because she's never seen Jemay like panic before. But she sends Honorine to her room, sends her away, um, and is clearly like absorbed in thought for the next few days. And there's something different in the way that she looks at Honorine every time she sees her. Um, in in the next month, just as this is happening, the emperor's favor grants land onto the Sice family, and they move for the first time into their new estates down at the edge of the border of Montaigne into the Schwarzenwalden. Um, it is a creepy forest which surrounds an ancient estate, the most prominent feature of which is a statue of a maiden. Um, that at night in the dark, Honorine can sometimes hear it singing. She coming out in the middle of the night in her little footy pajamas for young noble to go check it out. It sounds, it's wordless. It's like somebody who's kind of like almost like running through scales or something like that. They're just creating a melody with their voice, and it is melodious. And as you kind of get down to the statue, you know, if it's like a maiden holding like a bowl of water, right? And water kind of like flows out from it and into the statue. And though she's heard stories about the things in the woods and the, you know, the shadows and stuff like that, she's never seen anything like that. But as she reaches the maiden, you know, the song kind of quiets and she hears another song out in the woods. But this one is a male's voice and it sounds like it's keeping a duet. Does that make sense? Like it's singing the other part of the same song. Doesn't. It just sounds like it's a little bit outside of the protective perimeter of the estate and into the woods. Yes. It's a statue built into the estate itself. The estate is actually like built around it. The town that like it there's a town like kind of with the estate as well, like a very small one, you know what I'm saying? Um, that is set up at its base. And the statue is perfectly in the center. Right. The music that you hear in the woods kind of seems to forever be just like a little bit further. Um, you know, you walk, you kind of feel like a little bit of a shiver as you like pass past the boundaries of the fence. Um, and the uh as you get deeper and deeper, you see like dark black woods that are out of a fairy tale that kind of like rise up and over everything. You can almost hear the sounds of like creatures muting as you get closer and closer. Like something that might have been crawling or cracking sticks or something. Like everything just seems to go quiet, and all you can hear is the music of whoever is singing. Um, and then he seems to just sort of step from outside of like from behind a tree. And the you see two things at the same time. You see both a creature that has these long kind of like blades for hands, that are like fixed, and they're like, almost like crab-like, except that they're thin and they look like the blades of swords. And he himself is this sort of half wooden, half rotted thing of shadow that, in a lot of ways, looks like you're more seeing the silhouette of him than the person. Does that make sense? And at the same time, your eyes go black and they fill, like this thing that you've kind of tried to stop having happen just happens on its own. And as you look at him, you see it looks like the wood and the shadows that cover his face kind of like part like a cocoon. And inside, you can see a man who is like handsome beyond words. Um, he he kind of like watches and his head tilts and he studies you as he sees that you are looking at him and not the image the rest of the world might see. And he kind of steps forward and you see that he's wearing that other form almost like a suit. Um, yeah, and like his features are, there's like the external features which seem to react with like a curl or a sneer, you know what I'm saying? But the ones underneath that like beautiful face, there's like a calm to it, and a bit of a smile. And he um he kind of like moves closer and he kneels down in front of her. Um, and he's like, "Would you like to play?" It's the first time they play over the course of like weeks. Does that make sense? Where she like goes out into the woods after dark. She kind of discovers that he can only be found away from the village, like far enough that like its lights can't be seen, and that's the only place that he'll come to her. Um, and he plays games. He disappears from behind tree trunks and appears behind others. He appears and startles and scares her. And then other times he lets her go hunting for him and have to climb up trees and find him in the branches or hanging upside down from them. And in between these nights, there are days where she is caught with her abilities manifesting themselves again and again, where she keeps seeing the connections between people, where her eyes go dark, where she sees those she thinks might be angry at her, or just simply kind of like angry at her entire family, but they're smiling and they're speaking pleasantries. And every single time her eyes kind of go black in a public place, then suddenly like Chimay or is there and kind of like turning her head away and covering her eyes and kind of pulling her out of the sight of any others. Um, Um, yeah, and like, and one of the visitors at one point kind of like, "What are you raising a little Vidachi?" And he kind of says it in humor. And you see Jume kind of go white. And um, that night, as you're out kind of like playing with the Shadow Man, he, he sees the veil that she started to adopt. And he kind of, he reaches and like those, he's incredibly dexterous with those like bladed fingers, but he kind of pulls it up and away from her face. And says, "No, why are you hiding?" And he kind of like like those bladed fingers, he like runs them along your cheek, but it's not in a threatening way. Does that make sense? It's like a caress that would also give you like a Gillette shave if he were trying to, but it's a gesture like of intimacy. Does that make sense? Um, he says, "Do you truly want to be like everyone else?" Says, "I can't do that." Says, "But I can do something else." He says, "I need a promise from you in return now." Says, "I'll take away that sight. You'll never have to see the things that connect people again." He says, "But inside of you, there will be an absence." He says, "A void, and there may be something else in your blood that will fill it." "No one will mistake you for a Strega. You will not be stared at." Says, "You will not be a Strega. You will be something else." Says, "The promise that I ask," he says, "one day I will ask you for a favor." Says, "You simply have to say yes." Um, and he kind of like, "This will hurt, but I need your hand." They're both hands are that way. Does that make sense? But his palm is like empty. Does that make sense? His palm is not dangerous. And he puts his palm in the blades in such a way that she can put her hand in his. No, just one. And he kind of like takes it, and you see he takes one of those enormous bladed fingers and kind of draws it across her palm. And as he draws it away, she can see her blood in it. And there's something like black and viscous that's like sticking to it. Does that make sense? And it kind of like draws away, and she can feel something flowing through her. She can feel something in her blood being pulled out of her. Um, it's actually what comes after. Does that make sense? She kind of sees this thing like oil that is like running through the blood that he's drawn out. It's all in like one long line away from her palm. And then fire curls along that oil. And she sees it like begin to burn. And then it draws back into her. The same blood that he drew out and transformed flows back into her. For a moment, it feels like every vein that she has, every drop of blood inside of her is burning. Yeah, there's kind of this moment where she can just see that face as it starts to be curled and covered by shadow. She realizes she won't see that other face again. And he says, "I'm sorry." And then he disappears and she is in her bed, kind of like waking up, and like there's blood on her pajamas that looks like she might have coughed up. And like her wet nurse isn't in the room at the moment. Like her wet nurse, she's well past that age, but like her wet nurse within the size two size family has kind of raised her, taken care of her. And she sees like there's little fire like burning at the end of the room, like they're trying to keep it extra warm, like they think that she might be sick or something. And as she sits up, she sees the fire kind of swirl. And then she sees a little bird made entirely of flame, like a tiny robin, like not even an adult yet, flutters out of it and comes and lands on her hand. Not at all. It feels almost solid to her, and it kind of starts to sing at her. It sounds like the crackle of flames. Like it sounds like the way wood kind of snaps and you know burns, but it is a song still. And it flutters its wings, and then it kind of insistently nudges its head against her finger. Um, we're cutting ahead several years. She's accepted within Montaigne society. She's learned to kind of run that ground between just noticeable enough to be a noble and just able to avoid it enough to be as comfortable as she can in the court of Charus. She's been engaged, and she's also had that engagement broken just recently. No, no. Um, but she still kind of has like tears in her eyes from like the letter that she got from Tomas saying like, like I've spoken to my mother, I've pleaded with her, I still want to be engaged to you, but she insists that as a rose it rinds to rose, I have a duty to the emperor that I cannot fulfill as your husband. I have chosen instead to enlist in the army, uh, and she is furious. But perhaps if I can acquire proof of my deeds, they will be enough to sway her to make my own mind. Um, and the letter that follows it is one from Jemay asking you to return to the estate. She has been in the city of Charus itself, the capital of Montaigne, the largest and most opulent city in the world at this point. Um, she does not know it, but the city of Charus is surrounded by a wall of starving peasantry that's larger even than the one that is surrounding Freiburg. But inside of the nobles' quarter, where she has been continually sequestered, it is a place of beauty, of fountains, of extremely expensive balls, of dresses, of who's invited to whose party, of uh, presentations and matchmaking, and sort of all the excitement and wonder of like uh, that this kind of era can have with it. Does that make sense? She is completely isolated from the awfulness that happens outside of the city. And the only time she actually sees it, well, actually, no, because she's returned to the household not by carriage, but by porte. It's not her first time traveling through it. Uh, her aunt still insists on a blindfold, even though she's a grown woman, and she can very well manage to keep her own eyes closed. Um, But, they put the blindfold on, she walks through the portal, she follows after her aunt, and arrives back in the estate that she's not seen since for a few years now. Um, yes. Yeah, it's somebody else. There's a porte room that's sort of established in the palace that is for nobles to come and go, like to leave an object, and sometimes it acts as sort of like a subway terminal. One noble might be able to get another somewhere that they personally can't get. But Janae actually showed up personally to bring her back to the estate. Um, and Janae kind of like, we have some poor fortune here. It says your betrothal breaking was part of a larger orchestration against our family. Um, she says two of my nephews, she says, have been cut down in duels by Rosette swordsmen. She says matters of honor, she says, but they surely would have been settled by a duel of blood and not death. She says they were to send a message to me, and I do not care to have you be a message either. She says the message would be your corpse. She says, she kind of smiles like a little painfully. She's like, I've made some arrangements for you in Freiburg. She says, yes, a city very far from Montaigne politics. Says, no. She says, though I know it seems like I might be. She says, there is more to the world than Charus and its court. Just as a guard, of course, she says, do you remember a young man that your cousin was engaged to? Gerard Depay. He's working on behalf of our family. He's going ahead to prepare a home for you. She says, but there are tumultuous events in the city as well. Yet still, I think it will be safer than being here. Um, she says, I've prepared a carriage. It should set out by daybreak. Um, she kind of pulls Henri into an embrace. She's like, I know this would not be your choice. She says, but you are like a daughter to me, and I am trying to keep you safe. Um, it will be an opportunity. Says I'll make arrangements to see that uh, your fortunes do not wane simply because you are far from Montaigne. Uh, just as I know you cared for Thomas very much, and I know he cared for you in kind. She says their family is the oldest and most loyal to serve the Emperor. Teresa has decided that the Sice family is not loyal to the Emperor. We might all be coming to join you in Freiburg soon enough. The patriarch of the family is an honorable man. Too honorable for the emperor he serves, I think. But Therese controls the family. I'm not fond of her. And she kind of smiles and she says, "Go pack." Are there any keepsakes that young Honorine finds of her adventures in the woods? Keepsakes. Is there anything she made to remember the man she saw inside of the trees? Like boughs of the tree, like, or the. Mhm. Yeah. Figurine. Um, when you're loaded into the carriage, it like sets off in midday through the Schwarzenwald. You've heard plenty of stories of carriages disappearing and the like in the place. Um, Probably imagine it to be a certain degree of superstition. You have a guardsman that's been hired. He's got like the pin of a swordsman and stuff like that. But he's definitely a commoner that like sits in the back of the carriage with you while you've got a driver and another guard at the top, all the kind of things appropriate for your station. Um, and it's not until you're in the Schwarzenwalden and the carriage is rolling along that the swordsman kind of inside of the carriage draws his blade and sort of gently puts the tip of the sword across it towards your neck. It says, "Lady Rosette Rhines sends her regards." And that's where we're going to cut. And we'll go to our opening now. So
Thinking about Frederick Kruger.
yeah, I didn't.
It Bison.
Chat's been going off
Oh,
already, apparently. I've occasionally peeked over.
It would
It's
have been
been-
done.
It's been
I'm gonna warn
good.
you
It's been
already.
very good so far.
Yeah, it's
Some of us are strong,
um,
chat wise.
so we're going to be looking in on honoring in a little bit, and the reasons will become clear. But And there'll be a bit more of a flashback at that point. And now is, of course, when I lose my opening. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm, a 7th First Edition Let's Play set in the great lawless city of Freeburg. Our art is courtesy of Hero Forge, First Edition 7th and Be Funky. Our producer is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful and compassionate Gloriosa, and our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Syndra. Before we get started, I want to give a content warning. While the spirit of 7th is swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief. Eisen, our setting, is recovering from a 30-year civil war over religious differences. It may get dark sometimes, and there's no shame in bowing out if it's not a place your head can go at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to have our savvy swashbucklers introduce themselves. Let's start with Gloriosa.
I thought we were friends.
Well, hello. Hello, I'm Rory. I'm playing Hans tonight. This is likewise the only game I'm in at the moment. I also occasionally hang out in the Discord, but I've also kind of just been no-lifing work, so that's fun. I've done one stream. I've followed through on it. I have done one. I'm working on fixing all the extra bugs and stuff. I'm still trying to. OBS is not the happiest on Linux with me right now, and it kind of just never is in general. It's just a grumpy piece of software, yeah. So there's that to improve, and there's the odd other thing to improve, but yeah, for now I'll be playing our fun soldier boy, who's kind of surprisingly short and not buff like every other Eisen that we're going to encounter here,
But mad legs.
but can run very fast, as we've learned.
Never sips to spips. I'm gonna stop.
How about Bison goes next?
That's me. Hi, I am Bison_Stonefist. Tonight I am playing Gav of the Grin, the exact opposite of Hans, where Hans is speedy and competent with the sword. Gav is slow in every possible way. But he's a special being and we love him. Other than that, on Tuesdays I run our Cyberpunk Red campaign, Carnage Heights. On Thursdays I am Encino. He has no last name, so I can't really put a epithet to it. The Dragonborn Paladin Ranger, big damn hero. There we go. For our D&D 5th edition King's Pyrite game. Other than that, I'm on the Discord almost constantly, where I post memes I find on Blue Sky, and if anyone dares ask me a question about Warhammer, you'll be entertained for the next 2 hours, I guarantee you. Next, let's go with Rosa.
Hey y'all, my name is Sarah. I'm gonna play Rosa Nix tonight, the Vodachi Strega who didn't give up her magic. Yeah, I'm gonna start the I'm starting the beef between the characters already.
Turned off a salt. I love it.
I learned from the best. Otherwise, I'm here on Monday night playing the corporate entity known as Magic.
Corporate entity, I love that.
She's not part of the Argent Key. No one can tell me she actually is. I am the DM for the Fool's Gold campaign on Thursday. Other than that, you can find me over on Tangor Productions, working with the Scrap Adventurer on stuff and things. And maybe Twitch streaming again eventually. Who knows?
I just have to interject here. You didn't think I was going to let there be two Stragas in one party, right?
No, I was like real worried. When I heard that, I was like, oh, new string gonna help her out yet? Yes. And I think Ruth is the only one. Oh, and back I also have two, and neither of you are eating. Okay.
Howdy, folks. I am the Bat Kyle. I didn't have anything clever to. Well, I guess I had these chocolate hazelnut sticks, but they're not actually very good. I should probably throw them out. Anyway, you can find me on. Oh, actually, just at Thursdays playing apparently the only friggin' brain cell the whole party has. Unfortunately, it's a brain cell that's encrusted with salt because he's just so angry all the time about everything. And you can find me here tonight, who, unlike Sarah, is not about to be deleted from OBS for being, mouthy to our producer. I play Len Kagi Bear no Jutsu Costin, the big bear when you don't expect him to be, and probably should check the floors a little better before he does that. But yeah, the show must go on. Otherwise, you can find me on the Discord posting unhinged food memes and really nowhere else because I don't want you to find me there. Over to Ruth, who is sneezing, which is almost as good as eating.
You cut me off. Anyways, hi, I'm Ruth. I'm here today as Runa, our. I was about to say Strega. That's not it. Scaregin.
There you go.
Very different. On Tuesdays, you can find me here as Exit, also a corpo. Doesn't know how she feels about it. It's Magic's world, and I guess we're just living in it. And on Thursdays, you can find me as the resident sex appeal of the group, Desrai. Mind you, I didn't key that. It was kind of decided. But she's super strong. She's not just hot.
You got to beat something up.
Finally. Otherwise, you can sometimes find me in our Discord. Otherwise, good luck. Back to our storyteller.
And I actually have something to hype. I will be here tomorrow playing a game with Hellhounds 20. We are doing the end of the year one shot with Dino and Doggy Heist. I'm looking up what the final name that was picked out for it was real quick.
Is there an official one yet?
I think so, but I actually realized that it might not be fair for me to reveal it because I don't think HH20 has. So I'm going to keep mum's the word, but tune in tomorrow if you want to see. So. All right.
Sandy Claus are coming to town.
Okay, fine. Bison's gonna spoil it.
She apparently workshopped it
Hmm.
earlier in the cast chat. But
Yeah, but I don't think it's been released yet. So
that's true.
that's all right. But tune in tomorrow and we're gonna have some shenanigans. I will be playing a war machine built for death that loves Christmas carols. So all right. In the ancient days of Numa, the great storyteller and philosopher, Sarah the Wiser once noted that an adventure can only begin in one of three ways: by death, by slur, or by letter. To begin without one of these incitements is folly, a tobacco best described as an indiscretion, dalliance, and escapade. But fear not, we begin tonight properly girded with a slur, the most dangerous of the three, and thus the most powerful. So the group has reconvened at the Playhouse, which has some construction going on. There is a hole above the center of the Playhouse that has been rebuilt, and the carpenter has actually sort of taken the time to make sure that it's like just a little bit acoustically better as much as he can, and also done some key reinforcement to that upper area. But long term, his plan has been that like he's gonna like remove it entirely, kind of build a separate office that's off to the side instead of overhead, but that should kind of have some box seating of the production. Does that make sense? All that's going on, but at the same time as some of you are coming in, Veronica, the Fidachi, who's kind of like one of the main performers, she's very pretty, an okay singer and an okay dancer, but mostly very pretty. um, is going through her lines for a new production. She's being coached by a Castilian woman who those of you who've been around the Playhouse for quite a bit have recognized as probably the singularly most like musically talented. She provides she's usually down in like the orchestral box, like during actual productions, because she's the only one who plays an instrument. And it has very much like expressed no desire to be on stage without any of her clothing. That said, she kind of is keeping the place running because she's the one with the actual like background in theater and skill at it. But what is happening that some of you may notice is it looks like the Playhouse is getting sort of like a makeover externally as well. They're rebranding, and they have taken the name the Barhausen, which means the bear house. And there's a new mural that is being painted on the back wall, that is being it's kind of becoming a mascot, and I'm putting it up in Roll20 right now. Let's see if it comes up. There we go. Let me just blow this up a little bit.
That's amazing.
The new Capitan Bar, which is very much a one-eyed pirate bear. Complete with like saber and coats and everything like that, is now like splashed large on the wall kind of behind the Playhouse. In the times that it's not actually doing a production, it frequently serves as like a bar and stuff like that. When there's like scenery and whatnot for a show, it'll be covered, but the rest of the time it's now just sort of like part of the attraction. Len can make of that what he wills, but he's definitely one of the first people seeing the artist kind of like working the mural in. And
His good likeness. His handsome bear.
And you know, the woman who's doing the painting is the one who kind of like did the wild improv at the last moment. You know what I'm saying? Like did the whole dance and everything with the bear, and she choked down being terrified. And she's like, "You would not believe the things some of the customers have asked me to do if the bear shows up again." She says, "I hope he stays as a painting. No offense." Like she says the no offense, just sort of like that there might be some bear nearby. Not that she seems to think Len is said bear.
Yeah, I am sure bear is probably done with city for now. This is not the place for bear.
She nods enthusiastically. She says, "But you think you would like it?"
I think you would approve. His handsome bear is very dashing. Big sword, important for bear.
She says, "I was thinking of perhaps a treasure sack full of honeycombs."
This would be perfect. Yes, maybe salmon with honeycombs.
Oh, she says they eat fish.
Oh, they eat many fish. Yes.
Um, and she kind of like nods, and you see her kind of like sketch on top of it. She's fairly talented. Like it looks like a lot of like the artwork and scenery and stuff like that is probably her hand. It's a very interesting place in how lots of different people sort of contribute to different skills.
Oh, it's very good. It's flattering.
Um, and she just kind of smiles and you know like gets back to it. Um everybody else is kind of you know milling in. It's the middle of the day, so only like The really particular drinkers who it could be said probably have been kicked out of enough other bars that they may not be welcome there are the ones who come here and drink midday.
Oh, the
Um,
professionals.
All right. So, and it is also the day of the feast and the day of the heist. So,
Gav is wearing his least stained outfit that isn't that really, really nice one that Rob Probst got for her. Or not, the one that they made out of the costume stuff.
Runa would ask Rosa if she has like a jacket or anything.
She can bring her like to her house to like go through her stuff if she wants, but a lot of it is very cover like dresses.
the Playhouse does have a variety of like costuming and stuff like that as well.
She's just unsure about. Actually, she's been going around town with her runes out. So
She's just got a new one she's less certain of.
yeah, she just wants to wear it for the dinner though. She usually keeps the other one covered.
All right. Is there any last minute sort of discussion of the heist and the feast
That would be ideal, probably.
or other things that people have experienced that they want to kind of make mention of?
But I should mention what she saw Gateway to Wilma, but that'll have to wait until next time we see her. So that's fine.
Okay.
Well, Len's gonna check and see if Rosa wants like to carry Len to the near the place and drop him off, or wants to just meet him there after he's infiltrated and seeing if he can just open the window or the door or something for her.
Are you alright with spiders?
Spiders are natural little tiny many-legged friends. They protect us from bad things.
At that, Otto kind of climbs up onto her shoulder.
Hello, tiny friend Otto.
You are not jealous? And she asks Otto if he's gonna be jealous that she's holding a cat.
And Len, go ahead and make a speak roll for me.
Alrighty. First one of these.
I didn't realize we were muted.
Let's see. So that's just the rating. Roll
You
the rating.
roll it with your wits.
Oh, with my wit. Oh, same thing either way. Gosh darn it! I keep forgetting I need to press the rolling button. The first roll every time. There we go. 15.
Okay. So you understand Otto as kind of like he minds his space, I'll mind mine.
Friend Otto says,
But Rosa just sees the spider kind of, moving its little
Yeah.
feelers and seems
Oh, yeah.
relatively amenable, like, but cautious.
and then he's like, Friend Otto says, as long as I mind my space, he will mind his. All will be good.
One thing to note, you have very, very rarely run across any kind of insect or arachnid capable of speech.
Well, already suspected the Friend Otto was different. His Friend Otto sticks with Rosa and does things Rosa asks. Will not pry. If Rosa wants to share, we'll tell.
Otto is my pet. He
Otto is
stays with
he's very smart, probably magical. Can tell. Usually spiders, grasshoppers, things like that do not speak.
He is very good at giving messages when I ask him to.
You can message your shoulders with all those little legs. Oh, message. Yes, sorry. Yes. Okay. So then I guess Len's just going to, anamorph into Catland, and which is a stable, like gray tomcat. with the little notch out of one ear, kind of matching where he took the bullet and everything. But otherwise, handsome kitty.
Rose just picks him up.
All right. So Hans, Runa, and Gav are all going to the feast as assistants and whatnot. And Rosa and Len are kind of waiting for most of that to get into. So I'm going to. So when you get there, there are a couple of people who've clearly been appointed by the cardinal as kind of like just an organizer. Does that make sense? And you actually, for Hans, he actually sees that the captain of the guard is there, like the guard for the city as a whole. And the guard captain for the Dragon Nest in particular is here. The fact that the guard captain for the city as a whole, he's the guy who spoke to you about like, I'm having some issues and enlisted your help. And I had his name. Give me just a second. I'm sorry.
Lanyards are only for security purposes when you have to get into like their own place. Because how are you supposed to know your security clearance if you don't have your lanyard?
Sense.
Should say,
Sorry,
it
what?
says right on it.
Well, I mean, in the back of my head, it's like if I had a nickel for every time that happened in a Marvel show, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
All right, sorry, Vasya. That's why I couldn't remember the name. His name is Vasya Wilhelm. And he's, he looks like he's doing a lot of the sort of coordinating of the different like security that's there. He does seem happy to see Hans. And also that Hans has brought a very large person like Gav with him. He doesn't quite take as much notice of Runa, though it doesn't seem to be like anything personal. It's just she's relatively small.
She's got some more muscle than she did the last time.
Oh god.
I'd say
well, I
she's
don't
been
think she's
working at
met.
it.
I don't think she's met
Yeah.
him.
Oh
Yet.
no, but like she is more muscular than she has been. So she's small, but she's getting some of her muscle back.
All right. Vasya has 2 very large panzer fists. But he's not wearing them at the moment. He's got like 2 very large kind of bags at his side, but he's also got like all of like the scars and whatnot of a veteran fighter. Gav is familiar with him by reputation. In that he is also a Freebird native. I put a picture of him up in Roll20. And let me make sure I'm on the right. Yeah, okay. I'm on the right tab so everybody can see everything. His reputation is for like, if Vasya takes interest, justice will probably be done. If it's somebody under Vasya, coin flip as to whether it's like a good guard captain or a bad guard captain. Does that make sense? But he himself
He
has
takes notice you are in trouble,
he's so he is as inclined to kind of like give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, and for most like petty stuff, he's more obliged to like mercy. If you cross the line into like murder, that kind of thing,
You steal
that's
somebody's
when
lunch money, you spend some time in jail. You kill a man, you're in trouble.
Yeah, like usually for Vasya, he deals enough damage getting somebody arrested that he considers that punitive enough. If like it's anything less than like a sort of like really big crime. Does that make sense? Because you're probably gonna be getting your jaw back together, maybe an arm unbroken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just got Batman.
2 Panzer hands will do that to you.
Yeah. He has a reputation, by the way, of 44
That's a lot.
on a scale of a scale of -130 to +130.
Okay.
And anything over 100 is internationally known. Like the emperor has a over 100.
So everybody in the city basically knows this guy.
Definitely so. He's as important as Wilma, just in a different way.
Mhm.
Okay.
So his presence here is definitely sort of like a calming effect unto itself. And there are a number of, like, you can see the church guards as well that look like they're reporting to Father Wessels and kind of doing their own thing as opposed to like working together with the captain. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Um, and it's telling that the cardinal has denoted the captain or Vasya as the one arranging all the security. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so Vasya kind of like he brings everybody, he gets everybody in close beforehand. He says, in a few minutes, everybody from despair is going to be coming through these gates on the promise of food. I don't know if to tell you that that could become a danger unto itself. He says, so our job is to keep everybody calm, to assure them that there is food and there will be enough for everyone, and that the best thing that they can do is to be orderly. He says, if you have to make an example out of somebody, he says, let it be the last thing that you have to do.
Understood.
He says, and no matter what, he says, I don't want to see anybody lay a hand on a child.
Of course.
He says, is that clear?
Absolutely.
He says, I don't care if they walked away with half the guilder, he says, from people in the city, he says, they're trying to drag the pouch behind them. And like a few of the kind of like guards look a little bit like they're just not making eye contact in a very telling way. Does that make sense?
It will be nice, yeah.
Um, he he kind of points to Gav and he points to two other people that are also very big. He says, I'd like the three of you to be my anchor points. He says, you're just going to stand on the road and give people direction so they know which way to go. You're large enough, and I'm sure you can be loud enough to be heard. He says, everybody else, I want you along the roads. He says, and just looking for trouble. He says, be ready to break it up if you see it.
Understood.
He says, if you don't think you can handle it yourself, come and find me.
Not a problem.
And so Rosa and Len are approaching at the same time to the area that was noted last time by the Cardinal. I want to get wits rolls from both of you with keen senses. Len, you've spent your dromedary to turn into a cat, right?
Yes.
Okay, because you are going to be making rolls. So in order for you to get the benefits, that's when I'm going to be like, now you pay the dromedary. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
you should
yeah.
get 2 extra unkept die for senses for cat form.
And you said you wanted wits rolls? Oh, he
Yes.
just naturally has keen senses anyway, but yeah.
Then you get 4 extra unkept dice.
Oh, nice.
That stacks.
$24.
Nice.
Exploding dice.
I rolled 3 nat ones, y'all.
That was like
So-
me.
So Rosa
I
fades
for-
out of existence as she forgets how to actually be anything.
I think it's probably more along the lines of Len starts getting squished as you get closer, as Rosa sees hammers inscribed on the side of the building. Is that about right?
The petting that she was doing to look like, it's just my pet cat, has now turned into almost like full on nails raking almost against your skin as his anxiety is starting to hit.
Len is
Just
like,
doing it faster and faster until there's
Yeah.
like smoke coming from Len's back.
no, because Len can speak in cat form. So Len's like, easy, easy. Nails normally only come after dinner and entertainment. Please calm down.
Sorry. Sorry.
It will be okay. It will be okay. They will not take you. If I needs must, will become bear and will draw all attention. And then try to escape.
Oh, all right.
Now, did we see when Len scouted previously, did we see any windows or anything where a cat or like grates or anywhere that a cat could squeeze in?
Yes. However, there is one thing that you're noticing that is different, in that it looks like some kind of carriage arrived overnight. And with it may have come, additional guards, or it's just like uncertain at this point. Does that make sense? Like the things that you had planned out as far as how many people might be there and whatnot. There's an arrival, and with that arrival, there seems to be a certain busyness that you can literally hear with your cat ears going inside of the building that wasn't there before. Does that make sense?
And Len will mention that. He'll be like, uh, someone arrived overnight. There are people inside the building which we did not expect. I don't know if they are going to leave. We may have to hover around the edges for a while and just watch.
All right. Do you want to try?
Um, might not be a bad
If
idea for
you
me
get
to
in
peek.
alone and come back and say it is too dangerous, we won't try.
Yes, I will take a look. Meow meow meow. And so Len's just gonna kind of hop down and skitter away and move around the edges and try and make his way to where he planned to enter previously, which is the handiest window or grate. At least to jump up there and peek. Because
I will require a stealth roll from you. You're going to get 2 extra unkept dice because you're cat.
what skill is stealth under?
I will allow survival or criminal.
I have neither of those. So it's just
Oh, I thought
straight.
you bought the survival skill. I guess you
Or
you
is it
run out of points.
naturalist?
Naturalist. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, naturalist. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so naturalist plus
2 extra unkept from being a cat.
okay. So 4 31. I
Okay.
am the knight.
So not only are you like invisible, but you're able to kind of like overhear the entirety of like when you slip in, what is new inside of the place in the exact same room where they were holding the most dangerous relic that the Inquisition has gotten its hands on lately. There is now a cage, and in it is a woman. She has been bound, she has been gagged, and in front of it is a swordsman who looks pale as death, and he's talking to like the local head of the Inquisition that's there. Sorry, no, he's talking to one man who's an Inquisitor, and he's also talking to Father Wessels. And he says, I am telling you, I did not make it up. That thing butchered my entire crew. I was the only one who made it out, and I only made it out because that monster wants her alive. I had my knife to her neck from start to finish. And the Father was kind of like, calm down, calm down. He says, I don't know what manner of demon she is, but I know she is one. He says, and if you had any sense, you would be putting her to the torch now. And the father is kind of like, there is no justice without a trial, especially when it comes to witchcraft.
All right, well,
Um,
I'm gonna hide, of course, and stay out of view and just listen for a bit, see if what they're doing.
So a brief flashback for honoring's sake. It was chaos. Like from the moment that the knife was to your neck, you know what I'm saying? And the swordsman who is now desperately kind of pleading with the Inquisition, um, to you could hear screams from outside from the guard that had been assembled to accompany your carriage. Does that make sense? And for like you like there was blood that splashed through a window at some point. Another point, a body kind of like thumped against the side of it. You could hear the horses like whinnying and screaming in terror. And then like you saw the top of the carriage literally peel upwards, and the shadowy figure with the bladed knife hands, like standing over the body of the dead driver. And he took Honorine hostage at a moment, just pulled her hair back and put the knife to her throat. And you saw like the shadowy man kind of like loom, and his like knife hands had kind of clanked on every side of the carriage. And he says, "Pray you never fall into darkness again." And then he disappeared. By the time you had arrived, it was literally just him with the knife at your throat, like for literally a day of travel. Does that make sense? He didn't sleep. He didn't look like he was ever going to sleep all right again.
Well, there's stuff in
Serves him right.
Bodachi called coffee.
But he bound her, he gagged her, he didn't want to give her any chances. He uh I he did at one point make a fire. And it's up to you if she wanted to try anything or if she was just being quiet.
Well, before he gagged her, he was like, she was definitely like, "This is an outrage. I cannot believe you would do this. Haven't you learned the lesson from your compatriots?" She's definitely like upbraiding him as much as she can before he gags her.
He is absolutely he's absolutely already frightened, you know what I'm saying? But
Take
like
me back
he
home this instant.
yeah, he just like that was the point where he kind of like cut off part of his shirt and stuffed it into a ball and put it in her mouth and tied it in place.
Gross.
Smells like
Uh,
dude.
She definitely, like, even though he pushed something in her mouth, like, she has an expressive enough face that she clearly made her opinion of his shirt known to him without being able to speak.
all right, but she's leaving the fire untouched, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She didn't really see much of Freeberg. He put her into a sack and put her in the back of the carriage.
A sack.
A sack. And she wasn't released from it until it was cut open and she was being pushed into a cage inside of the Inquisition's headquarters. And she's heard this man, making his case, talking about the monster that killed his crew and how it began the moment she was threatened. Len, you're hearing all of this as well.
The cage is her throne and she's radiating rage at her subjects.
Yeah, and you see the Inquisitor kind of like watching with curiosity. And he kind of like moves over to her effects and he draws out the kind of figurine of the Scatton Man and lifts it up. And he's kind of studying the work while Father Wessels kind of examines her very thoughtfully. Wessels looks a little bit uncertain about everything. And the swordsman for hire is like, "You should let me put a blade through her heart right now." He says, "Now that we're safe." He says, "The church is right over there." Um, he says, are you accepting members? He says, "Can I join your," and he kind of gestures to the Inquisition's robes. Um, uh, and the Inquisitor kind of like, "And what price would it take for you to betray those robes?" He kind of holds up the figurine of the monster and he says, "This is Blackwood." It says, "To my knowledge, anyone who has ever attempted to carve it has ended up dying gruesomely in the night." And he kind of sets it on the edge of a small, like, urn that's in the middle of the room that's being used to cast light.
Is the urn on fire? Like, is it casting light with fire?
Yes. Yes, it is.
She's just like staring at it.
Mindful fireball, let's go.
Yo, dog, I heard you
I
needed a
didn't ask how big
distraction.
the room was.
Do it. Make the
Um,
flame jump. Be extra.
what is Len doing now?
Len's just waiting to see if anybody's going to leave. If it seems like they're like, he's certain there's probably going to be a guard, maybe, but
There's like half a dozen here. The recent arrival of Honorine has got a lot of them here. But also the feasting and the festivities haven't really started yet.
okay.
And there's kind of like a sound of like the noise of the horn of like the feasting is starting to open. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And the Inquisitor's head kind of swivels, and Father Wessels looks that way also.
When they look away, the fires get. Can I make the fire go out?
Are you extinguishing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you need a roll?
No, I don't think you need a roll to do that, right? Because it's just a matter of, for you, you're reducing the type of it, and it's small enough that.
Yep.
Okay. So it plunges the room into some darkness. Does that make sense? Len, I would like actually, I'm going to give this to you because you're probably in a position to watch her directly, right?
Mhm.
You see Honorine's eyes for just a moment. It looks like there are like candles of flame inside of the irises. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then the fire goes out and the room goes dark. The swordsman screams, and he just kind of like Rosa's outside as she sees the door burst open and the swordsman run out into the sunlight, and then just kind of like one hand on his blade.
Manly scream.
I mean, he looks like a man who may or may not have like been wishing for brown pants. Does that make sense? So, and he sort of like, you see, he's like taking breaths, trying to stop like hyperventilating. You know what I'm saying? But the Inquisitor just sort of, he sedately moves towards the urn and looks up at Honorine, and there's a very thoughtful consideration in his gaze.
She's just like, when he looks over at her, she's like, what? Like,
Father Wessels kind of.
she's still like gagged, so she's just like, she's bound, right?
Yeah.
She's gonna like kind of like touch the gag with her shoulder, like, hello.
And Father Wessels kind of he clears his throat. He says, "The Cardinal is going to be in the square soon." And the Inquisitor kind of like, he just gestures and he says, "Send the men." He says they have their orders. And he moves to like the urn, and you see he picks up like one of the tapers that was there, as well as like flint and steel. One of the things they kind of use normally to like start a fire at the kindling. And you see he runs the flint and steel and relights the taper. There's just like a little burning end of it. And he watches it for a moment and he moves closer to the cage. And he sticks the taper through the bars. It's on a collision course to kind of brush the flame against your neck.
I have a thing. Did the guards leave when they were told?
Yes, there are two now. There's Father Wessels and there's the Inquisitor that's in the room.
Well, she's
Then
definitely like shying away, by the way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Len is going to do something pretty
Suddenly
nasty.
bear.
No, not suddenly bear at all. Suddenly You know the whole horrible rank smell that an unneutered male cat uses to mark his territory?
I do.
Len is going to
You mean
step
his
out of
anal
the shadows.
glands?
Yeah, oh yeah, everything. Len is going to just step out of the shadows, meowing like in kind of a friendly like manner for a moment, just meow meow meow, and then he's going to turn and he's just going to unload on this Inquisitor's guy's leg, hip, everything, and then he's going to run out the open door.
All right. Go ahead. She just was hearing this and she decided to come investigate.
That is the
All right.
best timing.
So go ahead and give me a. I'm just gonna kind of call it a finesse roll. I don't really know as this would qualify as like a melee or a ranged attack, but
I don't. Is
Actually-
it like? Would it be like finesse plus cat? Or
actually, I'm really just more interested in going straight to the wits and defense roll that's going to come after, because I don't have a problem. Like he's got stealth, he's got surprise. You know what I'm
Does
saying?
that qualify as a reach weapon?
I think it qualifies as a war crime. But you know what?
That's never
If you've
come
ever
out.
smelt glands,
I have.
the smell
yeah.
doesn't go away.
Oh no, this guy's gonna need to burn those robes and possibly his leg.
Veterinary clinics will throw their garbage away right after
Yeah.
glands, just because they don't want the smell sticking in the clinic.
Oh,
Yeah, so later he'll apologize to Honorine for pretty much cat ass hotboxing the relic room. But so what do I need to do now?
Right.
Okay, so you're gonna be making a defense and wits roll.
Where's defense? Is that a specific skill?
I think you would have bought it along with attack when you were buying your martial skills.
Did we talk about that? I don't remember defense.
I'm just going to look. You have roll. I will let you do athlete in this case.
Okay.
You will want to buy defense in the future.
Okay. So wits plus athletics.
Yep.
Do I get any bonuses for being a lithe kitty?
I will give you I'll give you another 2 unkept for just being small, but it's going to be a one-shot thing.
Okay.
Like you're not going to get it on successive defense rolls.
That's fine. That's fine. 2.
Holy shit!
You are going to be
Laser.
fully able to get out of the room without the Inquisitor getting a hold of you. That is, I will even let you like open another window or a door along the way, but
Like
this
you were never
cat is
even
going to
there.
be marked for death inside of the building. So like you're not going to get your normal stealth bonus because you're going to be one of the few people in the world that has Inquisitors actively looking for a cat.
That's fine. That's fine. It was entirely worth it. Yeah. So he's gonna do his dirty work and then get out a different window so they don't know which one he got in. And then he's going to skitter circuitously back to Rosa and just kind of be like, so they should be leaving that room soon. There were 2 of them. They have a woman tied up and bound and gagged in a cage in there now. She might have fire magic and apparently some sort of horror beast from the I just totally lost my accent. Some sort of horror beast from the dark forest, they say, is protecting her and murdered an entire mercenary group trying to protect her. And he'll describe her as best he could see from where he was. Inquisitor and the priest were in there with her. All guards were sent away. Inquisitor was going to try to poke her with a burning stick. So
See a test.
the wahoo.
Test. Test. Just trust me.
Okay,
Inquisitors test.
I see. So I may have sprayed all the foulness in my body on his leg and then escaped to try to keep him from. Look,
I-
look. It was either that or turn into bear and kill everyone, and that seemed like it would attract far more attention than pooping
See,
on his leg.
As you guys are talking, you do see like there are inquisitors coming out of the building and kind of like some of them look like they're heading straight towards like the cathedral area. But others are just like they're in like a small search pattern around the building itself. Ironically, at this point, the safest place you can go is back into the building
Yeah.
because these are the ones that are searching the area around it.
And that's what Len is gonna do. He wanted Rosa to know, and he's like, "We'll let you know as soon as I can free her and or open door or just push book." What does book look like? Do you know?
I've never seen it. I've
Well,
only heard stories of it.
then I'll have to try to figure a way to get you in. But first, I need to get her free.
Understood.
So, and he's gonna cat scuttle back, slink, creep, climb,
Okay.
hide.
All right. So
Dun, dun, dun,
we're
meow,
gonna
meow, dun, 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 dun,
cut
meow,
real
meow.
quick over to the cathedral. And so like what I would like from Gav, from Bruna, and from Hans is you can either choose to roll together and like one person will make the roll on behalf of everybody else and they'll get 2 bonus die or 2 free raises, or you can each roll individually and kind of suffer different results depending on how you roll.
What are we rolling?
So it's going to be either a brawn or a resolve check with with any intimidation bonuses that you have built into it, in
I have a
order
bunch
to
of those.
keep the crowd controlled, so to speak.
I have a 4 resolve.
Would strategist be useful in terms of crowd control?
I will let you make a strategist roll. You're going to be
Okay.
rolling your wits plus your strategist. Your target number is a 20. For every 5 you get over 20, you will be able to give an additional free raise.
Can I use my runes as extra intimidation?
Do you have a rune that specifically allows you to do that? Because Eisen is a land of scars.
No, however, comma. I can carve my rune that makes me better at resolve. Well, that gives me 2 extra unkept dice.
Bear in mind, you are outside of a church.
Yeah, I figured that probably wouldn't be a great idea.
I was just I'm gonna say, can Gav add his criminal?
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Okay. So I'm rolling 7, keep 4.
Okay, who is one person rolling or are we
So the-
all
so-
rolling?
I like the idea of us all rolling just because that tells a bit more entertaining
Okay.
story.
Because I have nothing to add.
I mean,
Okay.
This is fine.
You also just go pure resolve. You have 4. That's not that bad.
Yeah, you're 4.
Yeah, but
keep
I have
4,
nothing
4.
extra.
All right. So everything 20 and over is going to be considered a success. Okay. If you fall
38.
Okay.
What was I worried about?
23.
Then
Okay.
for me, it's the wits and strategist. I think
Yes.
the, okay. Oh, hang
And
on.
you're actually not quite on the front lines. You're kind of taking like a
Yeah.
larger view. Like Vasia's actually tapped you to kind of like be his runner to different areas as
Okay.
trouble is breaking out. Does that make sense?
13.
Sorry about the
Shit.
mix.
Guys, I'm super spooky.
Okay.
Ah.
So Hans, it's just like nobody predicted how many people it is the biggest problem. Like they're gonna all come in on this road. And that was their first mistake. Like
Yeah.
they're coming from everywhere. And there were like enough guards to kind of like handle that one road. And you see Vasia very much sort of reacting in the moment of like, okay, pull half our people from over here, get them over there. And like the problem is like you're running, but like unless you want to start shoulder checking your way through like orphans and starving folks, you know what I'm saying? Like you keep getting caught up just by the crowd and trying to like as politely as possible push your way through.
Yeah.
Runa
Ooh.
is channeling her mom on the deck of the ship during a storm. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, just like, nope, you do not go there, you go over there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's heard her mother yelling to be heard over the waves and over the chaos, you know what I'm saying? And like everybody around her is kind of like the big eyes and beefy guards that are close enough to be within earshot are like, that girl has lungs. Her voice is
Yes,
just
sir.
carrying and giving the directions and is like, you know, sort of like used to, like, in times of chaos, what people need is a plan, not a perfect plan, just a plan.
I just realized I
And
probably could have added sailor.
And in the future for something like this, I will actually allow you to. But you did just
Damn.
fine on your own.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't even
Yeah.
need it, but I could have added it.
And Gav is doing well, you know, kind of giving directions. I think what's probably hitting Gav is just how many kids he's seeing.
Yeah, it's definitely hard for him. He's definitely being like, you can hear him yelling at one guy and then just being really nice to a kid, like the full Gordon Ramsay meme. You know, you're doing your best. It's okay. You fucking donkey.
You fucking
Um,
idiot sandwich.
Yeah. This is not a great first impression.
But he's doing fine in keeping order. You know what I'm saying? Hans is a little bit like, this is not going well. You know, there's like a whole eastern flank which seems to be collapsing. You know what I'm saying? With people that, like, the guards have just been like, fuck this, we're out. You know what I'm saying? And he can tell that, like, it's becoming chaos over there.
Can
Um,
Bruna start
Oh,
to like? Actually, never mind.
I was just saying, can I track down can I try and track down Henry? Get him to give me a hand with some of the stuff over where the other guards have decided to kind
I
of
will let you
leave.
make another roll with an unkept die.
Okay.
And then straight after that, I would like a wits and keen senses roll.
Okay. So for this first one, which am I rolling again? Strategist again for this one?
Yes.
Okay, strategist and wits, and then wits and keen senses for the next.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's, fuck's sakes, that's 9. That's even worse.
Okay.
That's dog shit for the first one.
It's just wasted time. You can't find him amidst the press
Yeah.
of people.
There's,
You know what I'm
Find
saying?
Bruna.
there's just too many people here.
Yeah.
Bruno
You
knows
can-
where everybody is.
And there's just sort of like a, you know, remembering the chase and everything like that. It's like, if I could just get up a little bit, I can see some
Yeah.
stuff. So let me get that wits and keen senses roll.
Indeed. I think that's basically the same, actually. I only have 1 keen senses. That's 11.
Find
Okay.
It's
Bruna.
not my rolls right now. Oof.
It is just out of the corner of your eye, that you see, it's like more of a gut feeling than a thing that you actually see. It's just, you see somebody heading into one of the buildings. Does that make sense? Like, they move through the crowd and you saw that they were not dressed like everybody else from Despair. Does that make sense? Their clothes were nicer. They weren't dressed as like one of the church guards or anything like that. But you saw they had something slung over their back and they moved through the crowd and kind of brushed past you and went into a building. And it's just, it just makes something tingle.
Kind of trips the alarms. All right. I'll turn and start trying to make a bit more of a kind of a cow catcher approach to getting through the crowd this time and follow this individual.
Okay. Go ahead and you're going to give me, are you trying to sneak up after them or are you just going straight after them?
I think given the fact that he's a little bit on the shorter side, I'm just going to try and use the fact that I'm not like standing way out taller than the rest of the crowd to help me. I'm
Sneak.
just going to mainly focus on trying to not lose this person.
Okay. So I'm going to let that be with finesse then,
Okay.
instead of like brawn or resolve. And if you have anything that'll help you with stealth.
I don't think I do. Let's see here. Yeah, not particularly. Gotta spend some of my XP at some point. Jeez. Okay, so just raw finesse for this one. Man, still bad. Another 9. Oh.
Good at running away from crowds, not running into them.
You get into the building and kind of, go up floor, and you realize you've gotten all the way to the roof and they're not here. And you're not, kind of like you're looking around, and not sure where they were.
Rather.
But on the ground, on the roof, you can see spilled black powder.
Uh-oh. Yeah,
So
that's
most common like rifles and pistols at this time, you do not keep loaded.
Mhm.
Like it's because they're powder shot, they have to be packed, you know what I'm saying? And if you just like point them the wrong way, like you can lose
Yeah.
your load. That's a terrible sentence.
That's what he said.
But like so like the kind of common image we have of like pirates with like braces of pistols, they would have loaded those like minutes before the combat and they would fully expect half of them to not fire.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense? So somebody is preparing a shot.
Oh. Do I take the
By the way, just also for clarity, firing a round in this system, reloading takes 30 actions for a rifle and 20 for a pistol, unless you have the skill of reload, in which case you can get it down.
damn? Okay.
So it is like a
Realistic.
thing. Yeah. People don't reload in combat unless they've got literally nothing else to do. So,
That's why that one guy just kept pulling fresh pistols out of his like magic storage place. Instead
yes,
of reloading.
because they were not going to be like
Yeah.
dislocated.
And
So-
dump the shot out.
Oh man, there was something I wanted to do with. We're having a tiny little flashback for Hans, okay?
Oh.
Because this was a thing that I meant to do. 2 days ago, when you got back to your home, there was a package that was labeled from Upman's Coats.
Oh shit.
And when you opened it, it was a coat cut to your size.
hell
A
yeah.
coat that when you lifted it, you realized was a few pounds heavier than it needed to be.
Oh.
And as you kind of like touch it, you realize that there was a chainmail weave woven in between the
Whoa.
layers of fabric.
Let's go.
And it took you a full other day to find the secret pockets that were in it. There are two that are like large enough for daggers, but literally like wearing them, owning the coat and whatnot, you didn't find them until by accident you were like reaching for something. You're like, wait, there's something else in this pocket.
Wait,
Oh
what
my
the
God, it's a
hell?
whole other pocket.
Damn. This guy makes some crazy codes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
on your advantages, you can write down Upman's coats.
Oh hell
Upman's
yeah.
coat. It is not reversible, by the way. Like every single
What's
Upman's
up,
coat is
man?
unique.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So so the crowd is kind of contained, like whatever people thought about like whether this was going to be used to kind of proselytize or something like that, like the food is just being served and people are being given food. It is
Wow.
literally like a warm meal for those who need it. And like the closer members of the church are following the cardinal's orders and just kind of getting people to seats. Children are being seated priority, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, at least for now, for this like first wave, the food seems to be holding. You know what I'm saying? They've got some big wagons that everything has been loaded. You see a couple of the wagons have the marks of like local bakeries and stuff like that they've all contributed. And from here on the roof, you can kind of see how it's being handled. Realize like nobody's being forced to like sit through a mass first. You know what I'm saying? Listen to the Father. Like it is a no strings attached kind of thank you, and here is a gift from the church.
Just,
And for many of these people, this is the first hearty meal they've had in weeks. Does that make sense? Where they can have seconds, they can have as much as they want, they can go back for more. You can see people stuffing their pockets and nobody's telling them they're not allowed to. So, and the cardinal is just kind of like walking amongst it.
I don't know why, but I imagine people shoving mashed potatoes into their pockets.
I saw that
Um,
once.
That's unfortunate.
Back inside of the Inquisition's headquarters, honoring a cat seemed to appear out of nowhere right as the taper was about to like touch flesh and absolutely it sprayed the Inquisitor, which would have been objectively hilarious if not for the spell that came with it. he dropped the taper as he chased after. And unfortunately, some of the cat funk caught the lit flame, which was not a good combination. But he is out. And while you're bound, there is the possibility, you can try to free yourself, you can try to do something sorcerous, you can. What would you like to do? You do have some kind of a moment now, the first moment you've had since a blade was put to your neck, that nobody is around you and nobody is watching you.
What am I bound with?
You are bound with, actually, you're still bound with like torn strips of cloth. The swordsman had fully been intending to murder you until bad stuff happened. And so the bindings are something that could potentially be ripped through with enough force. A bladed anything could cut through them. Fire could easily burn them.
So can I just I don't want to set my whole dress on fire. Can I just like lean against the bars of the cage or like against the clasp or whatever? Like, is it honestly, how well sanded is this cage? There's probably some rough metal or something.
There are easily points that you could catch. So go ahead and give me, I will call this a finesse. And if you have any sort of, anything that you think would help with an escape artistry of some kind, the criminal knack would work for that.
Okay, so you want wits and
And I'd also allow performance if you have that, for just being like a little contortiony, a little.
okay, so I'm under skills.
Finesse, not wits.
Okay, finesse, and then so I'm looking under skills for the rest, right? Like
Yes.
it says old skills.
Yeah, you have civil skills. You have, is it okay if I read your skills out loud?
Yeah.
You have artist, scholar, noble, and commoner, none of which I perceive as being particularly useful at this juncture.
Right. Okay. I'm
So,
just making sure I'm looking in the right place. Okay. So I think I just have to roll straight finesse, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I clicked the thing, but
Oh, you have to use the little rolling macro in the lower left,
yeah.
not the skill. I still click the skills.
Okay. So. Oh, there's the macro. And then I'm gonna roll 2 dice, right?
and keep 2.
Oh.
Okay. You have gotten yourself a little bit more stuck. Like arms still kind of behind you. There's like a part of it that is caught. It's not comfortable. And you're trying to kind of like figure out a way to like, extricate yourself from it. Rosa and Len, go ahead and give me a finesse and stealth roll. Actually, Len, you're allowed to give Rosa a raise, but she has to make the roll. You're small, you can kind of peek around corners, you can give her a not yet, but she's ultimately the one that they're more likely to capture.
Yeah, we'll go with that because we need to get her into, because Len has no idea what the book looks like, and
And you
all
don't
of
have the
that.
connection to it.
Yeah, it doesn't have the
Yes.
connection to it, anything like that. So
I don't normally do this, but I would suggest a drama die.
How would I? I'm trying to think of what I
So a
would.
drama die will add a kep or an additional rolled and kept die to your roll.
Can I use criminal?
Yep.
Okay, because I know I have criminal, but I don't see it on my list. Weirdly.
Yes. I'm also going to say for this, you are allowed one failed roll, but it will cost you Len. Len will basically have to make another escape, but he can provide enough of a distraction that if somebody's about to find you, does that make
Meow, meow,
sense?
meow, 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 meow.
Yep.
Yeah, shake the ass at them and
Meow, meow. Turn into a cat
So-
fart squirrel.
yeah.
Would my fidelity connection help at all?
No, that is a matter of knowing gypsy folk and the Fideli and recruiting them in this. Oh,
Okay.
you're talking about the gist of kind of having the experience of it. Since we have not used it to this point, I will
Yeah.
actually let it serve as a free raise as you kind of remember a time with them.
Okay.
So 2 free raises with my addition, and then finesse plus drama
Plus
die
criminal.
plus criminal.
Plus criminal. The drama die is up to her. Like I said, she's allowed to like
Okay.
fail one roll.
So I think it's 6 keep 2.
Sounds about right.
Unless you use a drama die, which would be 7 keep 3.
Yeah. And it'll be plus 10. The final result will be plus 10. But you need to get a 20 to get into the room without being
Oh,
deceptive.
too many. Okay, tell me the other one first. That was too much for my brain. I'm so sorry.
So roll 6, keep 2.
Okay.
And
Unless you're using drama for this first one.
I'll use the drama die first time.
okay.
So 3 or 7, keep 3. 25?
Okay. Is that before the so you have a 35 with the pre-raises. So
Oh.
So you were kind of
Yeah.
close to the room. Len slips off down to like one of the other exits and like knocks some stuff off of shelves and then quickly exits. And some inquisitors are like heading that way. So you actually have a few moments in the room uninterrupted. The moment you come in, I would like you to make a resolve and staves roll. Or not, you define for me the strand you believe most appropriate for Rosa in relationship to family.
Oh, I thought the result was for the stink. My bad.
Nope.
I was like,
Oh, that was been interesting. So yes, it's Staves, right? Because that's the one that she was told is family.
Staves is the paternal patriarchal part of family. Cups is the love part of it. You know what I'm
Oh, then
saying?
it's Staves.
Okay. Like you can have like a high cups and it's like, I love my family, I hate my family. You know what I'm saying? But no, not
Oh.
feeling. Does that make sense? Staves
Okay.
is family is about loyalty, family is about respect. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, then yeah, it is Cups. Never mind.
Okay. Then go ahead and roll your resolve in cups.
So that would be 6 keep 3.
Uh,
Do I have that math right or no?
that sounds right.
22.
Okay. You've seen strands form before. You've seen strands break before. This strand exists and has existed for a long time, and its rating is that it is one of the house cards, is it like King, Queen, Jack? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In that these are not strands that can be severed. They're not strands that can be manipulated up or down. This is like you know instantly that you have a connection to this person and it's old and deep, but you don't necessarily know what it is.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Unless you do, like I will give you a moment here where because you were a young Strega and you carried a little sister,
Yeah.
around. So
there's a part of her that does understand of like this is the gift from her technically. But at the same time, for Rosa, that gift is such a curse.
How do you mean?
So yes, she can see the lines of fate, but at the same time, for her, it's caused her nothing but pain. It's caused her to be shoved out by the Inquisition of her own home. Every home she's been in has been this negative thing of the minute the bad time start, get rid of Rosa. And it's just, and so for her, when you said it could also be hate your own family. That's why it clicked.
Okay. You see her trapped in a cage, her arms behind her as if she's trying to, you can't even quite tell what she's trying to do, but it doesn't look comfortable. You can feel the book in this room. And you have a window of about 60 seconds right now.
Yeah, she's untying her. It doesn't matter. Like, feelings toward the strand doesn't matter. This person needs help now. So it is untying. I am saying nothing, though.
At being untied, Honorine immediately like yanks the gag out, and then tries to see what she can do about this cage. Is it locked? Is it like
It is locked. You saw the Inquisitor himself the head Inquisitor had been carrying the key. That said, it's not designed to be like a particularly complex, like impenetrable lock. Anybody with the criminal neck can make an attempt on it. It's target number 15.
Is that wits?
Mhm.
that is not me.
Oh, wait, I messed that up again.
Criminal knack over here.
So
Such a good,
4 keeps.
well-behaved child.
19.
All right, you lose a hairpin in the process, but you manage to like, and the door clicks open.
Thank you.
Go on. I have to get something. And I'm still gonna look for the book.
Yeah, you can feel it in this room. The give me another wits and keen senses roll. You can ask for assistance. You can feel it in this room. You're just not exactly sure where.
Okay. Yeah, she'll turn. Wait. Can you read?
Who's asking?
I am. The one who just saved you.
Honorine will like snatch up her figurine from the bowl and she'll nod and kind of glance around. Are the books, what language are the books in?
There's only this isn't like a library so much. There's only a single book that's here that you can see like visibly, and it's the Book of the Prophets. And it's in Theodoran, I believe is the name of the language.
Okay.
This room is like, it looks like it might have been like a private study or a chapel of some kind that's been converted. Does that make sense? So like there's the urn in the center. There's a few like pews that are kind of arranged around it. There's a painting on the wall of the third prophet.
So she looks at Rosa and she's like, that book? And points to the Book of the Prophets.
That's not it, right? No.
Oh, alright.
It would be hidden. Not easily found.
I'll help you look.
Grazie.
We get wits rolls from everybody.
Meow, meow, meow. Gotta go.
Okay.
20.
Hot dogs, get your hot dogs.
Which rolls from everybody?
I'm working
Who's
Me
on it.
helping
too.
Willock?
Okay, yeah. Does Keen Senses help on this one?
It does.
All right.
16.
Yep.
11.
All right. Len, you are out of the scene because you need to make a distraction. Does that
Okay.
make sense? To buy them more time. The cat kind of like juts out the door. You hear like a clang and a crash of like what sounds like it might be armor falling over pots and pans, something. And then you swoop out the window, leaving the two definitely not sisters together. Rosa, it takes a while, but like when you like look up at the painting of the third prophet is the prophet who died on a crusade in the Crescent Lands. He's the prophet that bears a flaming sword, and he's sort of the inspiration for the Inquisition, so to speak. Does that make sense? Like the patron prophet. And it just kind of like clicks to you like that would be who protects something they consider evil.
Okay, I'm gonna pull it either up and down or move it over
Yeah,
somehow.
it comes off, and there is like there isn't wall safes as we think of them. Does that make sense? This is just it exists to protect by virtue of being hidden, not by virtue of being sturdy. Does that make sense? So you're able to pull it open, and inside there's a book that the moment that both of you see, you can kind of feel it's like electricity in the air.
What is that?
It feels to you, Rosa, like it's watching you.
Yep, it's immediately in the bag. Sorry, Otto.
When you touch it, I would like a resolve roll.
Oh my god. Straight resolve?
Straight resolve. You may add your level of mastery of Strega, of Sorte, as an unkept die.
Wait. So that would just be Arcana, right?
No, your level of mastery. You have
Oh, so
a
only
1, 2,
one.
or 3. I believe just a 1 because you don't have anything. You don't have everything at a 3 yet.
So 4, keep 3.
Yep.
38.
Okay.
I
Um,
I had an exploding die.
And that's what saved you. 2 1s and a 29. Jeez.
yeah, there's some part of you that, like, when you touch this, you know that this book is like embodied possibility, both good and bad. It is the potential for horror, it is the potential for greatness, and there is a soul bound into it. And the Mad Queen has survived her death by weaving herself into it. And for a moment, you feel her slip into you, and like you kind of like there's an inner scream, and like you push her back out, and you can kind of see her regarding you and like, impressive.
What does that look like?
It looks like she picks up the book and she kind of like there's like a moment where she sort of like jerks and then a small scream. Like it's barely audible, but it's definitely there. You know what I'm saying? And then she seems to like be herself again.
She screams or the book screams?
She does.
Okay. I was like, whoa.
The book is black leather, over just ancient pages, like with a silver lock that keeps it closed. All of the etching in it is of spiders and webs.
Forget I asked. I don't want to know.
No, you do not. As Rosa is booking it out of here. Are you going to follow or no?
Yeah, Honorine has already made the figurine disappear into her pockets or whatever, and is hurrying out. God,
Okay. You guys are coming out as the kind of crowd is reaching a boiling point outside of the cathedral. Like they've even started to spill into this area. You are surrounded by dirty and unwashed masses, honoring people that look like they haven't eaten in weeks or longer, or sometimes seem to be just sort of like almost skeletal walking people. Like you can tell that they're alive, but like there's no like animation in their face. There's no life in them. Um, they're just sort of being nudged along by others that are coming with them. This is the most up close and personal to like very, very poor people you've ever been in your life. Most are shoeless. Many are missing limbs and have like wounds from the 30 years war. You see people missing eyes. You see people missing parts of their face, limbs. Um, Even for you, Rosa, this is like a little bit more up close and personal to them than you've been comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? As they just sort of are shuffling towards the cathedral itself.
Yeah. Rosa puts out her hand for Honoring to grab it. You don't want to get lost, no?
Definitely not. She's gonna take the hand. With her other hand, she's got like a handkerchief over her, over her nose.
That's some dude's shirt? Nope, that's my handkerchief. Okay.
And at that, she's kind of looking now for Len. Where's Len?
Len, you're surrounded by feet.
Runa should be easy to find because she's loud.
Rosa will recognize Runa's voice a distance off. Like it's kind of shocking that she can make so much noise and be so loud.
It's a lot of voice coming
For such
from
a
very
tiny woman.
person.
Well, not tiny, but she's shorter.
Len's gonna try and find a handy dark space somewhere to turn back into Len.
Okay.
Hold on, I've got to remember. Does Pyrian, when you change forms, do you take your clothes with you?
You do.
Okay.
You do need to make a man roll though.
Man,
So if you fail by more than 20, you can actually get trapped in the form that you're in.
Oof.
Old to dude.
That's... $15.
Okay. Yeah, you're back to your human form.
Whew. And I'm thirsty and hungry now. All right. Then Len is going to try and find either Rosa or everyone else. He's probably taller than. He's not the tallest guy, but he's probably taller than a lot of these folks. So he's just gonna.
Yeah, you guys are kind of like it's just sort of like the natural press of the crowds in the direction that everybody's moving, that you're all headed closer to the cathedral. The only exception being Hans, who's sort of like up on the rooftops with the remnants of a black powder charge and the sinking certainty that somebody is up to something bad. And as you look towards the cathedral, you can see that the one kind of cleared out area is like the tables where people are eating and others are kind of waiting to come in. And the only person you can see clearly moving in that group is the cardinal. He's dressed, like any other priest, but he's also sort of by himself. He's not surrounded by guards. He's just moving to people, making sure they have enough food, making sure that they've got what they need.
Is he the smelly one?
No, Honorine hasn't met him.
Okay. I was just gonna say that explains why he's by himself.
Damn.
Inquisitor Captus.
So, what are you doing now, Hans?
I mean, at this point, I'm rushing back to Herr Wilhelm to tell him that like there's like get all the high profile people out of the open because there's a motherfucker with a gun who's probably planning something not good.
Naughty.
Go ahead and give me you can use brawn to just be pushing through people.
Yeah, I'm at this point full on like out of the way. There's an emergency. Move, move. Like just like full on like shooting people, making sure to like not kick over children, of course, but like anyone
Yeah.
who seems like an adult, I'm just like, yeah, get the fuck out
If
of my
he
way.
passes by Runa, she'll like call out, "Everyone, make a clearance."
Okay. I will let Hans, you're gonna pass close enough to everybody that you can tell them one thing.
I think I'm just gonna tell everyone there's someone with a gun. Like keep an eye on the roofs. As I pass by, and then you said brawn to start moving through people here.
Yep. And I will let everybody at this point who cares to, you may make a wits and keen senses roll. As you see, the cardinal is moving on to like a soapbox to speak to everybody.
How
I
is
could
that
assist
possible?
anyone in doing so.
Can I use
14.
criminal instead of keen senses?
Oh yeah.
No, not in this case.
Can I
This is
assist
literally
one?
just searching. I'm just
And-
gonna go with everybody having independent roles. You're
Okay.
helping somebody else search is kind of the hardest thing to.
11.
16.
The dice are still not on
8,
my side.
14.
That's a 10.
19.
Okay. Honorine, you are the one that sees the glint of a barrel through one window.
Do I see anything like? I have no idea what's going on.
You see a barrel of a rifle that is leveled in towards this crowd.
Honorine is going to squeeze Rosa's hand and then just point at it. There's a gun. There's a gun.
Aunt,
Go.
Len Gov, and she'll point it out to them. Runa, sound the alarm. And she's just pointing at where it is.
If I catch that, I'm turn back around and barrel towards the building at this point.
Len's gonna try and get to the cardinal and just get in the way.
All right.
Runa's going to alert essentially the one who gave us all a debrief. Forgetting his name.
Okay, Vasya.
I'm going to alert Vasya that there's an individual with a gun.
All right. I will take a finesse roll from Glenn. I will take a Hans, you're going after the gunman yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm going straight for that building.
Okay. And so I would like a wits roll from you, as well as your highest defense, or as well as your defense knack.
Okay. Defense.
As athlete, and so how are you tackling, or how are you like getting the elderly cardinal? Like, he's not somebody I advise you tackle, but if that's just Len's go-to move, like.
No,
Do not
he's just
bear on top of this man.
No, he's not going to bear on top of him. What he's effectively going to do is, since he knows it's pointed out where the barrel was, he's going to. This is probably going to hurt a lot, but he's going to interpose himself between because he's bigger than the cardinal, I imagine. He's going to try and interpose himself and just be like, "Cardinal, you are in danger," and like try and shield him with his body.
Okay,
Like-
it's like before anybody really has a chance to say anything, you guys hear the gunshot. So this is about Len actually getting the cardinal down and Hans trying to do something
okay.
to.
Then yeah, it would be just a straight tackling cover if there were he gets there just as a gunshot cracks out.
Get down, Mr. President.
It is very much that kind of moment, you know.
15.
Okay.
God damn.
Hans,
Another-
buddy.
Bruh.
Another dog shit. That's
Yeah,
8.
Don't worry,
Oh.
I'm getting reinforcements.
Hans did
Okay.
not eat his Wheaties.
No, apparently
This morning.
not.
All right.
Damn.
Hans, you kind of you hear a voice whisper in your ear, and it says, "You owe me." And like as the gunshot goes off, you feel your Panzer hand like just forms around your hand. You didn't draw it; it just like assembles. Does that make
Whoa,
sense?
shit.
As you like leap
Whoa.
into the air, you don't know if anybody saw that particular part, but you saw it, and you saw like kind of threads of shadow connecting the different parts of it. You don't even know how to
Whoa.
like take apart your Panzer hand. It's never something you knew you could do, but it just. And like you feel the
Like
bullet like
Iron
snap
Man.
into your palm. Um,
Whoa.
And Len, because of that, and because there are going to be consequences of that, I'm not going to make you have a roll to get him down. Does that make sense?
Okay,
You
yep.
have the bullet in your hand, Hans, and you see whatever else you think that gunner is running.
Okay.
Leg day.
Yeah, this is the somehow this is what my character is built for at this point.
It's time for Usain Ulrich to.
Guys, he found out what he's made for.
Okay, Gav is actually going to be at the bottom of the building. He's kind of he watched Hans go in. He heard the gunshot. You know,
Well, this was like on the approach. He didn't even have time to fully get inside. He
Oh,
leaped
geez.
up like over the crowd. So
Oh,
Somehow.
yeah,
Dunked on him, just
it was like the blocking the dunk kind of thing.
Yeah, like
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
point guard. Get out of here.
And it was all instinct. Like you did not feel you didn't remember telling yourself to jump any of it. But now your jet black Panzer hand is on, you know,
Okay.
and you feel a sense that like you owe me has some weight to it.
Oh. I mean, as much as I'm scared of this fucker, I'm not gonna disobey.
Gav, as you're watching Hans kind of like come closer and you can hear the sound of footsteps like from the building, you see plates appear on Hans's upper forearm and a shoulder plate appear over the top of it.
Oh.
Holy shit.
I did not know Soldier Boy had it in him.
You.
Air
Who's
is
here? He
jet
plays
black
Soulja
as the
Boy.
Panzer hand, by the way.
Oh.
Whoa.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Okay.
This is sick as fuck, guys.
What do I need to do to give chase?
So he's going to start at a target number of 30.
Okay.
Somebody has to get a target number of 30 because of the lead he has to even have him within sight at the start of the chase. You may use
Okay.
brawn or finesse and any athletic knack that you have in your possession. If you get a 25 or higher, I will let you at least catch sight of them before they disappear.
Yeah. Can I throw combat reflexes on as opposed to an
I will
extra
let you.
athletic thing?
I will allow that. I would actually allow it in addition to the athletics if you have it.
I'd like to use my extra one or unkept from large.
Oh,
Just
nice.
to use as kind of an attempt to kind of follow / get out of my way.
But yeah, I'll allow your large for this
Nice.
because you're using your brawn.
Come on.
I don't think I have any like big
34.
athletic things in particular.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Gav is now a freight train, and he ain't stopping for nobody.
nice. Okay. So
Okay.
brawn and combat reflexes.
It's a good thing too. The drop die was a 1.
Nice. Real quick, I think I've got a couple drama dice that I could tap into here. Just a real quick refresher on what those do.
So they give you an extra experience at the end if they haven't been spent. They give you an additional 1K1 rolled.
Oh, okay, so an additional rolled and kept.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna burn one of those to make this 6K 5.
Okay.
That's 20.
Okay. So you still spend the drama die, but like you are surrounded by too many people. You know what I'm saying? And like
So many people.
they're children, or else you would absolutely bowl them to the ground.
Exactly.
It's just like a bad spot of luck of kind of like where you are, and you're like almost around them, and you realize you're standing like face to face with Otto. And
Oh,
for just a moment, it looks like your old sergeant has like a flicker of recognition on his face. And then he sort of sinks back into the fugue.
oh shit. It's kind of
Gav.
like freezes and takes that in for a sec.
Get
Yeah,
him, Gav.
Gav, you see the do you see the gunman kind of tear out of the back? You see him kind of like dip around a corner. He's left the gun behind. It's probably still in the building that you were at. Whatever, and the clothes he's wearing look sort of like underclothes. Does that make sense? Like somebody who would normally be wearing something over this, like there's like a sleeveless shirt. And for a moment, as you're chasing after him, you see on his forearm there is a tattoo of a hammer.
Okay. Yeah. Gav is continuing to give chase.
Okay.
Because he's not gonna let this guy get away. Gunman has that.
Okay, so you got a 34 in the first one. He is rolling a finesse of 3 with an athletics of 2. And he has to get I'm gonna go with, because of the crowdedness of the streets at the moment, he has to get 3 raises to elude you. But at the same time, if you get 3 raises, you will be able to capture him because he can't very well push through that many people any faster than you can. Does that make sense? These don't have to be called, they're just differences in the rolls.
Okay, so a 15 difference then.
Well, but it can be over multiple rolls.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right, so I'm going to roll first since I'm the eluder
Mhm.
and you're the pursuer. 21. So if you get a 6 or lower, you lose him completely. And if you get a 21 or higher, you're still on him. If you get a 36 or higher, you're going to catch him
Okay.
instantly. Just
Okay, that one's cocked. A little bit better. 19.
okay. So let's see, you haven't hit his, so you've effectively lost by a raise. So now he has to get 2 more raises to beat you and escape, and you have to get 4 to catch him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This one's a little bit better. Okay, so that's 28. I lost him.
33. So he's now 2 full raises ahead of
Raises. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Come on. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, bud. 23.
21. So now it's 4 and 2 again. Right?
Yeah, 2 raises. He's gone. Got to be, unless he rolls garbage.
You got a 19.
19.
So if you got a 9 or below, or sorry, no, it'd be a 14 or below at this point.
16.
So he's 1 raise from escaping you.
Oh, come on, dude. Oh, wait. That's a 10.
Okay.
The die that normally friggin' betrays me. My unlucky red die. That's another 10.
Ooh.
Get him, Gav.
Let's go.
Give him the puny god
47.
treatment.
So you are on the verge of like losing this guy, right? And Gav is putting everything, like, I don't imagine Gav is done running like this since he thought he was being chased by a giant white snake.
Yeah,
You
his
know what I'm saying?
cardio's been a little lacking.
And you see, you know, the guy with like the tattoo of a hammer, he's kind of like he's like a good distance ahead of you and just like hauling. I mean, he's well aware that he's just tried to commit murder against a cardinal. And this might be a city without laws, but it is a city in Vaticine country. And you see one of the kids in one of the gangs, one of the like the one that you talked to last week, you know what I'm saying, about like money for, you see he just kind of like hurtles out of an alley and into the knees of the guy, like full on throws himself into a tackle, and then kind of like rolls and comes up. He's like, "Get him, Gav, get him!" And you see the guy just starting to get up, draw a knife, kind of turn towards the child when he gets gapped.
He gets gabbed.
It's Cap.
I'm assuming that's like a full body tackle, right?
Oh,
Like your full
absolutely.
momentum not slowing down.
Yeah, no, it doesn't slow down. He's got him in a bear hug. And as he starts to squeeze, Gav is like, "You tried to hurt a very nice man. Freeburg does not appreciate."
Yeah, and you feel kid like, "You got gagged." And he's just sort of like boxing the air. Go ahead, give yourself a bonus reputation point.
Okay. So that brings it to 9 instead of -10.
Yes. So until you get back to 0, you're still gonna have the benefit of a die. The moment you have like a -1, it's considered a -10. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this guy is exhausted. He's also definitely not built for grappling. He has a brawn and a resolve of 2 apiece and no grappling of any kind. I'm not gonna roll that out. Are you wanting to kill him or render him unconscious?
Render him unconscious. He has questions. Or
Okay.
smarter people than him will have questions.
Gav knows people who have questions.
Okay.
It is time for you to sleep, little man. Breathe deep. It'll be the last time.
All right. All right. We're cutting back to the square. And the cardinal kind of, rising from the, he's heard the gunshot, he's heard, and he kind of puts a hand on Lynn's shoulder and he says, "I knew this was a possibility."
Yes, well, you're lucky we were here.
Says, "I am very grateful that you are here."
And Lynn's gonna get up, pick up the cardinal, just bodily, just you can't leave a bodily, just pick him up, dust him off.
Says,
Your holiness. I don't.
he kind of smiles and he says, I would still like to address everyone."
Yes, of course. I'm just going to be right about here while you do that until we know there are no more guns or desperate people with pointy objects who might be a danger.
Yeah. And there's like some of like the church guard that have come closer and stuff like that. So I just want to be clear, like there is obviously a conspiracy from the Inquisition to have like the cardinal killed, and Father Wessels was in the same room as the cardinal. That means he's definitely a member of the Inquisition, and it's also technically his cathedral.
Len will lean down and whisper and be like, I'm not going to disclose how I know, but Father Wessels was in the reliquary room with the Inquisition shortly before this happened.
The cardinal kind of closes his eyes and nods. He says, "A shame."
Yes.
And like the people around, this is like the area that was like the common area where like people were eating. You see like some are kind of like busily filling their pockets even more. Most everybody is like riveted and kind of like watching. I mean, they've literally just seen an assassination attempt. Hans, you're kind of dealing with like your Draconizing is growing.
What the fuck? He's just kind of confused and like vaguely smoking. I would imagine there's just like kind of light black mist emanating off the plates of the.
I
fist.
pictured maybe a cigarette when you said vaguely
No.
smoking.
Yeah, just between 2 fingers, he can't make it drop it. It keeps trying to go up to his lips.
It's just like, stop.
Filthy habit, bad. Len is also just kind of out of the corners of his eyes best he can, trying to make sure that Rosa and Honorine are now the hell out of this crush, and hopefully well on the way to somewhere that's not likely to get them trampled into the dirt if things go south at this moment.
Yeah. So the cardinal, he kind of like moves back onto his soapbox after it seems like relatively safe to proceed, you know. So I want to do a few things for context. Like it is very normal for the church to have like sermons and stuff like that. It's just by literal law in Vatican Church, those sermons are always in Theodosian. They're always in Latin. Like one of the founding things that made the objectionist movement get its power was that the Bible was suddenly printed in languages people could read it in. Does that make sense? The book of the prophet. That was a huge deal, and it was part of what spawned the creation of like the objectionist movement, because people could suddenly read and they're like, well, that rule doesn't really make sense. Like, why do we have it? And it was, well, it's because of church doctrine for years and years and years. And like all of it was like there were layers and layers and layers of upset. But one of the things that sort of was practiced and is still practiced is that Vatican sermons are in Theodosian. The cardinal is speaking in Eisen when he starts. And he kind of like, you know, like waves to like a few people who seem, you know, eminently worried about his like well-being. And he kind of smiles and he tells them like, today is not about me. Today is about you. And he begins a sermon that is like, it's very different from anything most of you who were regulars at Mass have heard. Does that make sense? Like Rosa's probably heard them via translation. Does that make sense? It wasn't uncommon for like noble folk to have somebody kind of like translating it while they were listening. And he talks about faith and how faith is not an endless well. It's something that must be restored. And that today he had his own restored. And it was not by the theatrics and the heroics that he just now seen, but it was by the act of watching a starving man give his last crust of bread to a child. And that virtue in the face of hardship is what defines men and what is the source of the church's strength when it is at its strongest. And he talks about that sin is a choice of selfishness, and that the evil created by sin reverberates and does harm to others. The very first prophet said there was no evil in the world. There were only the choices of men given free will and their consequence. And he encourages people to kindness, to niceness, to mercy, to charity, because those are the only true ways to battle against it. And he promises that so long as he has influence within the church and favors amongst the Vidaci to call in, he will make sure there's enough coin to provide bread every Mass day. And he invites objectionists and Vaticines alike. He invites those without faith and those in need of renewing and those with plenty of faith to come join at the table and to eat their fill and to have the strength to show another kindness for another day. He closes with that appeal to compassion and that appeal to rebuilding. And it's something that kind of like, for those of you who are watching the crowd, you can tell that the overwhelming feeling is they feel seen. They feel like their suffering is acknowledged and has like some meaning. And it seems to like put them into a context where like they're looking at it, and he at the same time kind of like frames it like the church is an entity, but every entity is made of people, and every group of people has flaws within it because men are flawed. And so the church, he like kind of closes before going into prayer by asking those present to consider forgiveness of the church for its transgressions, for its greed, for its failings, and reminds them that it is made up of men and that they are imperfect reflections of the Creator, and vows to do his best to be a better reflection. he makes no mention of the Inquisition. Does that make sense? Like, it is clear he is not trying to make this like a personal weaponization of people against a group or anything like that. It is just about like, I see you, we must do better. We will strive to do better. And to encourage them to do the same. Does that make sense? I'm curious particularly about Hans because I know he'd had the most kind of like reservations about this, of like what his inner thoughts are.
He's a bit surprised. I mean, the soldier life has kind of taught him a lot of like, the biggest people you can trust is like the people you can see and the people who are by your side in the trenches and like in the battles and stuff, and those are the people who deserve the most of your faith. But he's pleasantly surprised by this, and he has a bit more respect for the cardinal now, I think. There's a bit more respect for the people who are kind of in his inner circle, who share his feelings and his share responsibility in the planning of this. I think he appreciates it a bit more, I think.
So we are 6 minutes over time at this point. If we want to continue for another half hour, I'm good for it, but I want to make sure everybody else is. And
I'm down.
Okay.
Okay.
Is
As
there
long as
any-
it doesn't put any strain on the story, I'd be fine playing a bit more.
Yeah.
It doesn't put any strain on me. I just want to make sure everybody's okay with it. I know we've been going long, and I know tomorrow is Christmas week, so people have plans.
Yeah.
And I was totally up to like taking because that is like a fair place to close. But I want to give people a chance to kind of you get back to the playhouse afterwards. There's word of like an assassination attempt on the cardinal, and also like that. But just as big as like that, it wasn't a trick. Like there was food for everyone, and there will be again next week.
Yeah.
There are people that were kind of like from the start resisted the idea of like letting them in. You know what I'm saying? That sure that it was going to like disrupt the city and cause chaos and everything was going to burn down. That are now quiet. You know what I'm saying? And those people are going back to their camps, and like the next wave of people is coming to be fed. You know what I'm saying? And just the word, like the word that like the first group got fed and is now leaving, and there's still more food. Like any possibility of a riot seems to have like calmed. Does that make sense? Vasya seems to have it well in hand. And Gav is able to drag, his prisoner back to the playhouse, unless he's taking him somewhere else.
No, he's gonna bring him back to the playhouse.
Okay.
If he's not smart enough to know what a conspiracy is, but he knows when there's bigger forces at play. So he brings them back as like, I caught something down by the river. I don't think it is good enough to eat, but it might talk if you hit it the right way.
There's an abundance of ropes and chairs and whatnot that you can get him tied up in.
Perhaps we should bring him to Vasya.
Let us see
Can
what
bring
we
him
know.
to.
The guy's like, I'd like to see what he knows first.
All right.
Does Rosa bring Honorine to the playhouse?
Yeah, cause she knows, but oh, this is gonna be real awkward.
Real quick,
Yeah.
I just a quick couple steps back as we're kind of like leaving that area. I saw him running unarmed, right? I did manage to catch that.
Yeah,
Would
he
I
had a
have-
hidden knife, but it's gone now.
I'll be right
didn't-
back.
I didn't see him running with the rifle. Did I?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to retrieve the rifle?
Yeah, I want to go check the building and see what else, if he left anything else.
You have adequate time and whatnot to search. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So you find the rifle. There's nothing particularly special about it other than that it's scoped and it's designed for a long range shot. So.
Yeah.
And rifles themselves are relatively expensive.
Yeah, that makes it kind of stand out a bit.
Gav gives the kid that helped him out 2 gilder.
Nice.
One for the tackle, one for the catchphrase.
Yep.
And I hope you didn't mind me kind of like, I knew you made the roll. I just kind of wanted to throw something
Oh
in there.
no, the dice tell a story.
Yeah. he's like, he kind of like, when are you starting a gang?
Gangs are dangerous. Sometimes
He
it is
says-
better for contracts.
He says, gangs are good. He says, they keep kids protected.
Kids
He
protect.
says, we got somebody big like you looking out for us. He says, nobody's going to screw with us.
I am already looking out for you, little one. You should take care of yourself. You should take care of each other.
I want there to
Sure.
be the Gap Gang.
His responses are more, the city has me doing very important things, but you're a smart kid. You're smarter than Gav. You know what people can, you know what kids can do what. You guys, like, it's important you look out for each other. You don't need some big scary dude to look out for you.
He kind of, he crosses his arms and he's like, we'd still be better if we had a gang. He says, this is way cooler than the Mad Wolves.
I am
Gavin
also
knows this
only
gang.
one. I am only one Gav.
He says, you only need one.
Gav
Gav
will
is-
think it over.
Gav is the Brute Squad.
He says, he says, I'm Felix. He says, me and my friends, he says, we usually hang down in Kinder Hearth.
Well, Herr Felix, it is good to finally know you. If you see anything, let me know.
He kind of like, I see all kinds of stuff.
When I need you for something, I will find you. Da?
Like a gang?
Like spies. It is
Oh,
like a
even
gang.
cooler.
He does the hand thing too. So he gets the
Yeah, he like does it back, like kind of tentatively touches like the tips of his
Yeah.
fingers and
If there's any way Runa can produce a light.
all right, so you guys are back at the playhouse. The mural looks finished. It looks like most of the construction of the upper area has been stabilized. And, he started work on kind of building a proper office. For now, Gav has the dude stored in the clothing area where all the spare costumage is.
Then
I
we'll
think
look
we
over
keep
to.
him for props. Do you think he would make a good tree?
A bit too scrawny.
Would make good
It's not-
archery target, but we get to that.
It's not your line yet.
To look over and like, hello, double witch lady. Question: is your scary shadow friend going to visit us, or is all okay now that you are safe?
Me?
Yes,
See,
I saw you put out the fires with your eyes. Cool trick. I cannot do that. And I heard them talking about the horrible thing that murdered that whole mercenary company, or whatever it was. The guy who almost fouled himself when the light went out.
I
He
didn't
is
do
scared of
anything.
dark.
I didn't do anything. That's not her voice. I didn't do anything. She speaks with a Montaigne accent, of course, and her Eisen isn't super great. So she's her response is kind of along the lines of like, I didn't do anything, but I don't think anyone followed us here.
Oh, no one followed us here, but I was in the room when they were talking about how you had come to be in the cage. And so I heard everything and saw your eyes, but I will not press. Fine, keep your secrets. We only saved you from being burned at the stake and brought you to a safe place. But
and you are with say friends. See, we all can do the magic.
We're
Well,
different.
Lots of us.
Those wolves.
Runa kind of just
think I-
produces some
Wait,
lightning.
I just want to be clear. Are you all doing sorcery in front of the Inquisition member that you have tied up?
Oh no,
Oh,
I
no.
I pictured that we were upstairs.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear.
We're separate
Okay.
from the
Good thing to
Yeah, we-
clarify.
Yeah, I'm
We are
like,
not
I
in the
locked
same
him up.
room.
He's fine.
I'm like, there's a dude sitting right here. He's right there, you guys.
It's just,
no,
like
no.
They do burn sorcerers. So if you were having a little like sorcery palooza, I just kind of needed
No,
to be
no.
sure.
I
No.
assumed that he was still with, like, Gab was watching over him downstairs while everybody else kind of conferred before we go and
How to
give
handle.
this guy a little bit of his own inquisition.
Oh.
You will be quiet during the show. I will be sure of it.
But yeah, Runa produces a bit of lightning.
Len is like, I was the cat. Sorry you had to see all of that. But it worked.
That was.
I'm assuming Len does not still stink.
Oh, Len never stank. He got rid of all that. That
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
left
not-
him. And one
was-
night the
that's the
Inquisition
big
guy.
benefit.
And
Yeah.
for the sake of the playhouse, it all mystically missed Honorine, even though she was standing right by the Inquisitor. So-
Len has good aim. Good rectal aim. It's
That roll.
Good
Sphincter
rectal
control.
aim.
yeah.
Sphincter
Wrecked him.
control.
Damn near killed him.
And for Rosa, she's gonna see her Arcana because I forgot to do that when we were in the room.
Ooh.
Ooh.
What is Honorine's Arcana? She is the Hermit, yes?
And Rosa
But
does the same.
before,
Oh.
So you see her Arcana, and you see that in the eyes of the Hermit, there are burning flames. And then also you see there is a sort of like shadow that seems almost wrapped around the card itself.
Hmm.
There is a growing shadow around Hans's card at the same time.
Does he come back full Panzer arm?
I was at the mention of like everyone's like talking about how it's like safe for magic and stuff. I just kind of like subtly, is the rest of the like mysterious armor that appeared still there?
It is.
That's
Oh,
a good look
fuck.
on you, Hans.
Uh-oh.
Does it come off?
Yeah, there's straps and stuff. He hasn't tried to take it off yet.
No.
Runa just, that's a good
So
look,
the
Hans.
pauldron on the shoulder is of a black leafless tree.
Oh.
That's metal.
Yes, it is. Tink tink. No, look, that's that wasn't there before, Hans. Have you always had that?
No, it's not. Uh,
It looks
not,
really cool. You seem
does.
frightened.
it's a little bit. It is a new occurrence. Did you? Well, I assume you heard the shot.
Yes.
Yes, I expected to get shot. But I was figuring better than me than frail old Cardinal.
By some force. I don't expect you to believe this, but
All of us have, I'm sure all of us have been through pretty
crazy
strange
shit has
things.
happened, I assume.
Mm.
So, a funny thing, it's still. God, do I take that hand off and put it back in my bag? I stay there.
Like a dog.
This damn thing. I was going to go into the building to find this person with the rifle, and I stopped outside, and somehow the hand was on it was on, and the bullet was in the hand. I don't remember what happened. I just know essentially in an instant almost, it just kind of felt like I landed back on the ground and the hand was on and I had caught something metal.
Well,
That's-
is your hand alright?
Just somehow. I mean, I know that Draconism is strong. I did not know it was. Well, I mean, I've seen it stop the occasional bullet, but that's like the thick chest plates, the very rare, expensive stuff. I've never seen someone try to block a shot with a panzer hand. I'm going to take this off. Just like start trying to take it off and kind of set it aside for now. It still kind of unnerves him. Now that he's kind of the adrenaline of like the attack is worn off.
Seems like normal Draconeisen other than its color to you. It's light as cork. It's hard enough to cut diamond. Normal Draconeisen.
Just same, like almost light absorbing darkness as the hand.
Is his hair still black?
His hair's the same color it has been. I don't think I think I described him having like a whitening of the temples, didn't I? I don't remember.
It's just the same kind of like your average kind of like straw blonde, as far as I recall.
Yeah. So
For some reason earlier I thought you said his hair turned jet black.
no,
My bad.
just
I think it was in reference to the armor. It may have just been. I remember hearing something similar. I don't remember what was said.
My bad.
No worries. Well, Len's like, well, whoever noble lady is, we will need to keep her out of sight. At least some of the Inquisition knows what she looks like. One of them was going to poke her in the neck with a hot stick.
Oh,
Well, none of us are gonna let that happen.
but they're going to torture her? I'm sorry. I should just address you. Were they going to torture you? It sounds from the sounds of it they had you captured.
They seem to think that I was responsible for the attack in the woods.
Well,
I wasn't. In case that wasn't clear.
We believe you. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I know I do.
I've seen enough, and I heard the story, so I'm believing that, much like I think friend Hans's special glove over there, that there are other forces at play. To be fair, why am I trying to do French? Goddamn. To be fair, I am not good at accents. I'm trying my best here.
Me too.
the effort is appreciated.
Yeah.
Any kind of
fair,
Norse accent's way too difficult.
The Matrushka herself sent word to me through the animal spirits of the darkness growing here. Others have received similar messages, as I understand.
Yes.
It is.
I more so saw it.
Gab saw oh yeah, you saw the big murder snakes being birthed out of a rune mage. I don't remember what you call yourselves.
Scaregin.
Scaregent, that's it.
Yes.
Gav is downstairs by himself, right?
Yeah.
Outside of the door where the Inquisitor is. The Castilian woman that you had seen kind of leading the musical efforts and stuff like that. She had seen him like dragged in there and saw Gav come out. You know what I'm saying? And she's kind of watching him in the door intensely for a moment before she approaches. She says, "That man, I know him."
You know him?
She says, he and a few others, they were outside of the building when my husband was dragged out and put to death. I know him.
He is not a good man.
He
Do you
made me a
want any
widow.
of his teeth? I can get them for you.
She kind of like she actually like sobs for just a moment, and like she kind of catches herself and she covers her face.
He kind of like stops his like banter and like puts his meat hand on her shoulder. I know it must have been hard.
She says, "I would slice his throat if you gave me a moment to."
We have questions for him. I can leave him in room afterwards if you need me to.
She kind of gives a nod. You see her eyes are wet, and you see she kind of turns over and like walks to where like the prop weapons are, and she picks up one of like the knives and starts to sharpen it.
Does she grab a radio, and are we going to get to hear "Stuck in the Middle with You" while this happens? Because I've seen this movie.
Tell me when you are done. I will dispose.
Good for her.
She says,
Yep.
I'll be done before you're done with your questions. And she kind of makes like the prophet's cross. Like it's strangely, even despite the fact that like the man is an inquisition, she's about to do murder. Like she's still kind of like taking a moment to like pray for forgiveness.
About to do murder is one of the best statements I've heard tonight.
Father, forgive me because I am going to sin.
Rosa, I do have good news for today.
Mm.
You get the book?
We have the book.
Nice. Well, we should probably question our prisoner. The longer we hold him, the more problems are going to arise from it.
And thankfully, Gerard speaks Vadachi, so we're good.
I also speak Badachi. You have taught me much.
Oh,
Yes.
grazie.
You've done a good job teaching.
Thank you. I think we've all done good jobs together. Now let's go torture a guy.
So
On our way down, Runa's gonna say, I'm quite impressed actually. You guys did quite well. Vessen's quite hard.
Still coming to grips with it, but I feel like I am right on the cusp of the experience. I mean, right on the cusp of finalizing my understanding.
Vadachi is not easy either.
So a quick pause. Are you opening the book yet, Rosa? Have you looked at it?
As everyone else is going down to torture,
She's staying up.
yeah, she's gonna stay up because she knows her anger will flare and she does not trust herself right now.
Huh?
When Honorine also has a question, because Rosa said Gerard, and
Mhm.
that's not a common name in Freiburg, is it?
No.
Not in Freeburg, no.
She has a hunch, and so she's going to ask, this Gerard,
See?
does he have a last name?
See. It is very hard because player doesn't remember it.
Dupay, which is also like the like Montaigne slang for somebody pretending to be of nobility but wanting to hide their last name. Like there are people who are actually Dupay, and it's also the sort of surname for like I am anonymous.
So it's the John Smith of
Effectively.
So it's not the same Gerard that was supposed to be marrying.
No, it
Rosa,
is.
or
That was
it
their
is?
Gerard Dupay.
Oh, but he was actually Gerard Dubé.
He's an actual Dupay.
Oh. Okay.
So let me give a little background for the actual Montaigne. Dupay, the city of Pay is like the ambassador city for the country. Does that make sense? So all of the emissaries and stuff from other countries go to Pay. So any noble wanting to sort of hide out goes to Pay as well. Does that make sense? It's like a city of anonymity because there are so many like foreign people there. And the Montaignes who go themselves are kind of, going to get a taste of the world, and they just claim to be from Pay so that like any misdeeds and trouble they get into like stays in Vegas.
Nice.
I don't think Honorine and Gerard have actually met face to face, have they?
She's probably seen him when he was courting her cousin Rosen, or who not cousin married a Rosen. I forget his first name, but it was like a cousin of hers that he was clearly infatuated with. Honorine's perspective was like she wasn't quite as into him as he was into her.
That's always so rough.
Yeah, she was courting a few other people at the same time.
Oy.
She's gonna be like, yay tall, dark
Mustache.
dark hair, mustache.
Swordsman?
Yes, Very
See.
talented.
See, that is Sharat.
Interesting. And she's gonna kind of like give Rosa a look that's like, okay, well, clearly her opinion of Rosa has just like changed a little bit, but it's hard to tell whether it's for the better or for the worse.
It's like, new
Runa's kind of
information.
discreetly or not, Runa's kind of waiting by the door because she's just assuming that everyone's coming down.
Oh, she didn't go down to torture
No,
to do the torture.
no, Runa's more skilled with lightning than a knife.
Okay. Gav, Len, and Hans are all going down.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Okay. Rosa, when you touch the lock on the journal, it just falls open. But it's not written in Vidachi. It is
Wait, we
written-
have girls team and boys team. Wow.
What?
You have seen opera before and other compositions. It is written in music.
Mm-hmm.
Who's serving mimosas?
Bard's muse.
Honorine is also gonna lean over and peek.
Yeah. the
Rosa,
journal-
I mean, Runa, just interested, kind of comes over, realizing that they're not also going down, and is like, well, I missed them. Might as well just stay here.
Oh no, I missed torture.
There will be other chances.
Darn.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. Before the three of them go into the room, he says to the Castile woman, "You may wish to arrange for louder music for the next little bit, just in case."
I know
Uh,
just the thing.
Runa's
And-
going to give her dagger to one of the guys just in case. She keeps it sharp.
Castilians are also noted for their operas, but she chooses to sing in Eisen. She's singing in Eisen a particular like solo that is a dirge for a husband.
Ooh,
Oh.
damn.
As her husband's murderer is getting the piss beaten out of him.
So I'm not going to like actually go into the torture scene. I don't like to play that out. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yeah.
What I'm instead going to say is that you can either do the thing where you help each other or we go with the highest roll. But the highest roll is going to be the results. It is not particularly effective, three people beating on somebody more than anybody else. There's going to be two parts to this roll. One is how many questions you can ask, and the other is he just making something up because he's in pain?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and trying to determine if what was made up is truth or not. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
So, getting him to talk is a target number 15. You can use brawn plus criminal or any other knack that you can make a case for.
That's a 7K4 from me because Brawn 4 criminal, I get an extra 1K0 for damage and intimidation because I'm large.
Yeah,
And I
let's
think I'm
not.
the,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I'm the only guy who actually is investing in criminal for reasons other than stealth.
Yeah,
So-
Len
I
has
think
no
so.
criminal, so like Gav can do the work, and like
Yeah.
Len and Cons can ask the questions.
I was gonna say I do have a knack called beat, which I
Yeah.
don't know
What?
how well
Has
that
a
works.
has
for
a
this.
different purpose than
Yeah.
this context, but you know.
It's mainly just
Okay, so here's what I'd like. I'd like somebody who's going to be the person for torment, and then somebody who's going to be the person for this is truth or not.
Um,
I will apply violence.
yeah,
Okay.
Gav can apply violence. So Len will look at Hans and be like, my senses are keener when it comes to reactions and inflections of the body. Unless
Okay.
you have.
I'll follow your lead.
Gav, lose 4 reputation points.
Okay.
Oof.
Because the word is going to spread. Like this is happening in a playhouse. They're relatively loyal, but this is the kind of thing that they're going to remember and kind of
Yeah.
tell in confidence. And torture is considered one of the surest paths to villainy.
Yeah, they just heard that the guy that, just beat the piss out of the guy that got captured. Yeah.
Hans and Len, for your actions in saving the life of the Cardinal, you're both gaining 5.
Oh,
Where does reputation?
This is kind of the first time something really big and public has happened that has like a clear kind of good guy and bad guy. The
Yeah.
Hans doing the run, like I was actually considering giving him a reputation for it, but the context never made it to the public.
mhm.
Does that make sense?
But Len was like right there, ready to get shot. Did not want
Down.
to get shot, but
So wait,
All
sorry. I may have missed. Is that rep for
You have a
both of us?
reputation that's static that ranges from -130 to +130. If a
Okay.
character falls below -30 reputation, they are a villain, unless they have the Scarabese advantage, which is like a Vidachi thing.
Mhm.
Because Vidachi are just like a tolerated level of vile.
Damn.
It's not evil, it's Vidachi.
Fair.
I can't believe it's not Badachi.
So
2 extra questions.
Nice.
Got a
okay,
25.
so you'll have 3 total questions. And it's going to be whoever's doing the kind of determination. I'm going to give you a target number for each question for is this the truth or is this just a please stop hitting me kind of thing?
First question would be, do they have to be true, false, or is it can be more open?
I'm going to say that like anything that requires more than a few words answer is not really appropriate.
Okay, well, this will be simple. Who in the Inquisition ordered you to kill him?
That would be the head of the Inquisition here in the city. He doesn't have a name. The Inquisition itself, like the only person who is known outside of it is Cardinal Verdugo, who's in charge of the Inquisition as a whole, and he's based out of Castile. Everybody else takes either Master Inquisitor or Inquisitor, and he just says the Master Inquisitor of the city.
Noted. Second question.
That's a target number 10 to determine if he's telling the truth or not.
Oh, okay. That's what am I rolling for that?
Wits plus whatever skill you can convince me of for gleaning truth from falsehood.
Keen senses, actually, rather than a skill.
I'm gonna say
listening
that's
to his heartbeat.
I mean, or
Watching
if you're
his
actually taking his pulse the whole time, yeah, I'll take it. I'll
Okay,
let it
yeah,
happen.
we'll do
I'm
that.
only going to give you 1 additional unkept die because it's generally speaking
Yeah, no
more
worries.
for ambush and details.
Nope, no idea. Look, I'm trying here. We're not really built
One-off.
for this.
Fair.
So it's like, well, it seems likely either way.
I mean, it makes sense.
He works for the Inquisition. We know this.
Yeah, but it could have been the High Inquisitor could have come from above him, could have come from somebody else in the Inquisition, trying to make moves.
Then we ask the Cardinal who his enemies are.
Most of the Inquisition right now, and probably a few.
So.
Yes. Second question.
It's a reasonable question to ask him why, if he knows why of the assassination.
Yeah, that was going to be
That's
the
true.
next one. Why the Cardinal specifically?
Okay.
So
This is going to be target number 15.
Okay.
His answer is that the Cardinal is influential, borderline heretical, and has debts owed to him by every Vidachi merchant prince.
Ooh. So yeah, this could also have been. This could also have been influenced by the Vodachi then.
He owes money, is what he's saying?
No,
No,
he
he
knows.
he's owed
So
money.
He was the cardinal of Vidachi, which means that every Vidachi merchant prince who gave confession, like a priest could have potentially relayed those confessions back to the cardinal. Whether or not that actually happened doesn't matter because all of the merchant princes are assuming that the cardinal has that information if he wants it, and so they treat him as, yeah, if you need a favor, I'll
Because
scratch
they
your
do
back.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, and there are certainly been ruthless Vidachi cardinals before who were absolutely willing to exploit confession
Yeah.
for their advantage.
But there are also, Vidachi merchant princes out there who would like that to not be there anymore. So they could potentially have been in on this too. 24.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
He's telling the truth, like, and
I choked, unrelated.
the one thing that he's leaving out is that the Inquisition actually fears the influence of Cardinal Siosa.
It makes sense though. He is very popular. Like, I mean, it's something you can see if you know anything about what's going on. He is influential. The people favor him
He's
quite highly, especially now. He's got a lot going for him, and if he's not down with the Inquisition, which he's not, he is an impediment.
It's even more complicated than that. That his, like, not
That's
just
his-
the people like him, his fellow cardinals like him.
Oh,
And the
Len's
position of
only so
Hierophant
smart.
is chosen by a vote of those cardinals.
Oh, yep.
Okay.
Well, that's kind of above Len's pay grade. He's smarter than your average person, but he knows more about Russian Orthodox
Actually-
religion, or sorry, Orthodox
Fair.
religion.
Actually, okay. So, like, from the doorway, the Castilian woman, she'd been saying the questions of the beatings kind of stopped, and she explains this. Hierophant is chosen by the cardinals, by the council of cardinals, but the cardinals themselves are chosen by the council of bishops of each nation. Right now, the bishops of Montaigne are missing, and so the Montaigne cardinal cannot be replaced, and a vote for the Hierophant cannot be called. But if it was, there are only two men who are in the running for the position of Hierophant: Cardinal Siosa and Cardinal Verdugo.
This gets even more. How did we get caught up in all of this? I'm just a guy with a stick. I poke into people for money.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Final question. Are there any other plans in the works that he knows of to try and kill the Cardinal if this one failed?
Yeah, do they have any backups?
This is going to be a TN10 answer. The Master Inquisitor is still alive. If there's an immediate plan, there will be.
Okay. So I need to roll for that, you said?
It's a
TN10?
target number 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
And
more.
the Castilian woman she moves forward slowly and kind of draws the prop knife that she'd been sharpening.
Nope, still no idea. It's been a busy day for Len. He hasn't been able to get a drink or any food to replace what he'd weaponized. A lot of things that happened. He's guessing that either way there's probably something, but some confirmation would have helped. But then he just kind of looks at Gav, looks at the woman who's approaching with a very sharp knife, grabs the gags the guy.
She just kind of she gives a little shake of her head.
No.
You don't mind? I wouldn't mind getting a swing or two in. And he kind of like takes the hand and puts it on and kind of says to everyone and also to the hand, "I owe someone a favor."
Looks like your fate is not up to me tonight, my friend. May the gods give you better luck the next time.
She kind of like steps aside for like if you want to take a hit.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Friend Len, we are no longer required to be here.
No, but I will not pretend that this is not happening and that we did not contribute to what is going to happen. If you want to step away, friend Gav, I do not blame you.
Alejandra, the woman, she says, this man brought this upon himself.
This I do not doubt.
She says he has tortured innocents. He has put people to death for the power of the church. She says, I am a devout Vaticine, and I tell you, there is nothing that does more harm to the church than Cardinal Verdugo and his thugs.
Then you are owed your vengeance, but I will stay. That just to make sure that there's not like that 1 in a million thing where he somehow gets free when she stabs him and there's a whole thing. This guy is not leaving here alive. At this
Hans going to take a few licks, or
Yeah.
is she gonna let him
Yeah,
have his?
I'll take 1 or 2 for my benefactor, I suppose.
As you're kind of like drawing closer, you feel the weight of the Panzer hand start to like grow seemingly heavier, and you watch as kind of like long blades seem to descend from the fingers.
Fuck.
Oh,
Keeping
And she,
And the
like
girls are not
Alejandra,
here
kind
to
of like
watch it.
steps back, like in a very like that is deeply unsettling to her.
He's kind of-
Schwarzenfast, are you okay?
perhaps he's not the one we need to fear anymore. It cracks the neck. Perhaps there's bigger things out there. I'm gonna pull my end of the pull my end. I'm gonna take my flavor side of the of my arcana, and I'm accepting this gift. I don't think I'm gonna be so much afraid of the of my benefactor from the woods anymore.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a new background after the game.
Oh fuck yeah! Let's go!
Actually, I'll just tell it now. So this is going to be a background that grows over time. Okay.
Ooh, uh-oh.
The background is called Doomed. It starts
Oh,
at one point.
oh,
You may call in the Scotland man to like basically, I need to succeed at this.
Oh, shit.
Every time you do, the Doomed will increase by 1.
Oh,
That's all I'm gonna say at this point.
that's okay.
Good.
Fair enough. I'm
Are you using the blades or are you using your closed fist on the guy?
I think one good kind of like backhand beat, and then one good almost like Wolverine style blade slash will do the trick.
Okay.
And then I'll
The punch doesn't seem to have a huge effect, but when you do the slash, you can almost like you feel strength flowing through your arm, and you watch as blood travels up the claws and disappears into the Drakenizer.
he's
Um,
twisty.
And then like you see the man, like he coughs, he like kind of like rattles as he's completely pale. And then dies before Alejandro touches him.
oh shit. Scheiße.
I am
Oh,
satisfied.
I'm sorry. Did not mean to spoil your.
I am satisfied.
That was probably more horrible than what she had planned for him, friend Hans.
She
Yeah.
says, what is horrible is his fate in oblivion.
Suppose that is the most important part.
If we need to make the body disappear, then we should go find the ladies and get a drink.
I could use one, maybe 3 or 4 at this
Yes.
point.
yeah. Before Gav takes the body, he puts his hand on Isabella's shoulder and takes the knife with the Cernith hand.
Alejandra's?
Alejandra, if it comes a moment when you realize that this was not enough and you need someone to talk to, I am familiar with death.
She says, I think now I might actually have a chance to mourn.
Very well. This
She says,
did not happen. You were never here.
She kind of like stops and she puts her hand on Gav's shoulder and she says, they could take me. She says they could threaten me with the pits of oblivion and I would not spill a word.
God
She
be
says,
with
you have my word on the soul of my husband.
And on the soul of your husband, no one will find this body. The sewers will eat well tonight.
She says, I will go stand guard. All right. And so I think that is a good place for us to conclude dramatically.
Whoa.
We got mimosas and a cursed book
Goddamn.
upstairs, and torture
Yeah.
and cursed
Oof.
gloves downstairs.
And pretty women.
And pretty
Wow,
women.
we totally undershot the content warning on this one.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
definitely. Our bad, my bad, guys.
No, it's all good.
Oh,
Well,
You didn't choose that.
I mean, I kind of have at this point.
yes.
It's
I-
cool
can
as
we
shit,
just-
though.
Can we just add player shenanigans to the end of our content warning?
Yeah,
and then
probably.
everything else will be.
Just put our
Kinda just kind of a-
names at the end of the
Yeah.
content warning
Yeah.
as we design.
We need them.
A general
All right.
ass covering, yeah.
So, on that dark note, to end the session and our last session of 2024, we're not trying to go again on like I think it's like New Year's Day would be our next one.
I think
I
basically
think
for
Roll
no-
20 shuts down or Dirty 20 shuts down during that time.
Yeah.
So, I want to say to my cast, like, have a great holiday. If you want, I'm home alone all week. So if you guys have questions about the game or want to chat about stuff, just send me a message, whatever. I'll be around and up to stuff. This has been incredible to run and incredible fun to play. I've enjoyed all of the PCs. I've enjoyed how like invested in the various storylines y'all are.
It's still my
So much
hyperfixation.
fun.
Yeah, I think
That's
about it a
like a
lot.
solid like 8-week hyperfixation at this point. That's
Yeah.
like pretty good,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's a good run.
We get to
Yeah,
see a little bit
every
more of
time we
Han's
close,
future
I'm
Death Knight.
Yep.
I'm
None
picturing-
shall pass.
If anyone has seen, if anyone is familiar with like JoJo's Part 4, like Silver Chariot Requiem, I'm kind of picturing that like black, slightly smoking armor. That's kind of what I look for flavor-wise, just because it looks really fucking cool.
Oh,
Honestly, like my mental image was very much the Death Knight from the Kryn series.
Oh, yeah, Soth.
Okay,
Yeah,
Lord Soth, yeah.
nice. Okay, yeah,
I will.
OG Death Knight, pretty much.
Mhm.
yeah. I guess so. Yeah, damn.
From the moment we'll talk about it a little bit later. We need to close out.
We need to.
Yeah,
I
it's
work at
almost
6
midnight
a.m.,
for some of the
so-
people here.
Anyway, so it's been a privilege to run for y'all. I can't wait to run for y'all in the new year. I'm so happy we finally got Honorine in. I hope
I
you feel like you had
actually
a
can't
memorable
wait.
introduction.
Yeah,
That was
very
really
memorable.
cool. Very cool.
Cages and cat piss.
are we gonna do our nominations?
Yes, let's do some nominations.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm stuck between 3. Len for stank ass. Gav for fucking bowling ball shit.
That was
Getting
And
gassed.
Hans
Yeah.
for
getting gassed.
overcoming a big fear and getting a new background. That was cool as shit.
Yeah.
It's all really hype.
I think I would go for Hans.
That's a pretty
Or
cool
for
character.
Honorine, just completely being like, I don't know what you're talking about. I am a simple, innocent girl who has done nothing, and I did not
I am
deserve
an
this.
innocent noble woman.
I want to
Damsel.
nominate like baby Honorine playing with the Scottenmon.
Oh, that too. Yes.
is
I
really
was
cool.
I was
really
going
like
to
that.
nominate Honorine for dealing with Rosa's sass.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
I think
was
it's
gonna
very
say
fitting.
Gav, because I liked how he was like, with the little kid, like it was like you got gabbed, and he's like, no, no.
I feel like
And
we
it was
should all just
super
get an extra
cute.
point for Christmas.
I was actually planning on something like that.
Aw.
So, in general, my plan is to, given the long scope of the game and the experience costs and stuff like that, I'm planning on giving 4 XP every game plus drama dice. And then I wanted to give everybody a +1. So that'll be 5 plus your drama dice. And for the nominations, like I'm actually good with Gav, Honorine, Len. I think those were all like great moments. I loved
Those are
the
awesome.
Hans moment.
So good.
But I'm gonna go with those 3. So
Stank ass.
Stink ass.
that was like the one that gives me like the just unexpected, like, okay, that's a move that I had not anticipated. Those are always fun.
That's awesome.
And it seems to be Len a lot of the time. like fucking bear.
Works out. That's just kind of how animals act.
Yeah.
They do the shit you don't expect.
Yep. Well, I
Um,
was like, if he bites him, he might does the full claw thing. He might not get away. That's a good way to grab a
Yeah.
cat. But fumigating the entire reliquary, on the other hand, that solves a lot of problems.
It's
it,
quite
it
effective.
did. So don't jump out right away when we close out, but because I still have some stuff I want to talk about, things that character sheets, that kind of stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
For everybody that's watching or people that are watching on YouTube, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks so much for joining us on this journey. The wisdom that is going to be just as important in the new year is if you can't be nice, if you can't be kind, be nice. And I think in the year to come, that's going to be some very key advice to keep in your mind. And also something that I'd like to say is Dirty 20 is here. It's an incredibly supportive community. If you're in a place where you just need somebody to hear you and see you, reach out, come join the Discord.
Kevin
Um,
is an amazing listener.
Yep. And there's a lot of other people grappling with every kind of problem that you can imagine. Whatever you are dealing with, you are not alone. Whatever you are afraid of, you are not alone. And there are people who will hear you, who will see you, who will give you what you need at the moment. We might not be able to solve your problems for you, but we can at least support you as you solve them for yourself. So that's all I have. Have a wonderful end of 2024. Enjoy your time with family, blood or found, and have a great year to come. Love you all. Good night.
Good
Check
night.
us out tomorrow for Hellhounds' Turkey Heist.